Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Dan Patrick.
Welcome to the Dan Patrick Show.
Hank Aaron, Hall of Famer.
I've been watching your show. You're doing a magnificent job.
Bringing you the biggest guests and best sports talk on air.
Daniel Jeremiah, star of the NFL Network. If you could get a totally honest answer with Tom Brady on any topic, what would you want to know about?
Tom, if you were the quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens with their personnel, how many Super Bowls would you have won there? So I bet you if he told the truth, he'd say 10.
Really?
You've got arguably the greatest middle linebacker of all time, arguably the greatest free safety of all time, top 3 left tackle in NFL history in Jonathan Ogden.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave.
You just blew my mind there.
This is Dan Patrick.
Made it to a Thursday. It's hour 1. Glad to have you part of the program. If you're listening, watching, tweeting, emailing, doing all the above, come on in and stay a while. Great guest list again. We got the great Jack Nicklaus in an hour from now. Jim Nantz, hello, friends. We'll talk about the Masters in November. Ernie Johnson will join us on loan from TNT, and call him Dr. Myron Rolle, the former NFL defensive back, went to Florida State, and now a doctor at Mass General Hospital. He'll join us coming up in a little bit. You can get in touch with the program. You can email. You can tweet. You can also dial us up, 877-3DP-SHOW. We say good morning to our radio partners. And, of course, those watching on YouTube.com/The Dan Patrick Show. Those in the chat row with Tyler the Monitor taking care of you guys. Paulie's in front of me. Fritzy at home. McLovin at home. Seaton at home. We'll get to a poll question, play of the day, stat of the day. All of that coming up. Sports World is starved for content. We know that. Tom Brady delivered Wednesday in a big way. He's delivered a couple days. Thank you, Tom. I owe Tom some of my paycheck there. He did a long, wide-ranging interview with Howard Stern, and he wasn't quite as open as some guests are with Howard Stern. But for Tom Brady, who hasn't said much in 20 years, by comparison, he was sort of an open book there. He talked about his problems in his marriage, going to therapy, addressed his friendship with Donald Trump, discussed the role of race in the locker room. For some people, he didn't go far enough, but for others, it was, shockingly open. If anything, it was a reminder that sometimes the superstars are just like us, or at least a little bit like us. Brady complained about Wi-Fi in the house he's renting from Derek Jeter and how difficult it can be balancing work and a marriage. And credit Howard Stern and his interviewing skills. We'll see if Tom Brady continues to be this open as he takes on that new life after life in New England. A couple things stood out. I didn't expect to hear much football-wise because Tom is so adept at not telling you anything about football. Howard, probably looked at that and said, all right, let me see if I can do a drive-by with some of these questions. And then he probably got bored because he wasn't hearing anything that was really titillating. Then he kind of honed in on who Tom Brady really is, and that's the family life. What was it like growing up? Did you smoke pot in high school? Did you drink? Then you start to talk about balancing your career, and you have a wife who's one of the most famous women in the world and makes more money than you. And that's where you strike gold with something like this, because Brady goes to these press conferences. He's interviewed every Monday on WEEI in Boston. He's interviewed by Jim Gray on Monday nights for the Monday Night Football on Westwood One. He's used to avoiding, dodging, downplaying football. Those questions. Because WEEI and Jim Gray, they're not going to be asking about Giselle. But he's on with Howard Stern. That's what Howard Stern wants to ask you about. He's more interested in that because that interests him. And as an interviewer, you go to sweet spots that interest you. No matter who I have on, there's certain questions I have to ask. But then there are also things where can I go and get something out of somebody? Whether it's Jerry West when he talks about his childhood, and he talks about sleeping with the shotgun and the fact that he was going to kill his dad. That's more interesting than basketball because that's life. We can admire somebody on the basketball floor, baseball field, or a football field, but when they start talking about something that could be personal to us as well, Or we've lived in that moment where your father's abusing your mother and he's 12 years of age and he's got a shotgun and he's going to kill his dad. Dale Earnhardt Jr. talking about his home burning down right in front of his eyes. And he's thinking, I got to go now live with my dad. And what about my Christmas gifts? That's what I wanted to know. Less dramatic with Tom Brady, but he's talking about going to a marriage counselor with his wife. And his wife is saying, look, the season just ended. And now you're going to go to a voluntary workout? You got to get home. I got kids here. And she's got a career as well. But that's what I liked because they're just like everybody else. Those conversations. I'm adamant that Giselle not tried to sabotage Tom's career, but certainly tried to speed up the process to get him retired. Because a couple of years ago when she went on the CBS morning show, she's the one that brought up concussions. Tom has not brought him up. Now, he did have to address it. I think she was saying, look, we're done with this. Your legacy, let's come home now. Now we have to have a life together. And I really believe that she was trying to expedite that. But, kudos to Howard to get him. Because once you get him, he plays by your rules. They come into your studio, they're on your show, they play by your rules. And Tom knew that. Now, could he have been a little bit more open about his relationship with Donald Trump or Colin Kaepernick and the impact that it had on the locker room around the NFL? Yes. But I didn't go into this thinking Tom is going to spill that much. I was surprised he was doing it. I don't know if this is a new Tom Brady. The two interviews I've done, I've done 3 interviews with him. One for ESPN the magazine, one prior to the Super Bowl with the Eagles, and one where he was on the show after he'd won a Super Bowl. But those are all football related, although ESPN the magazine was a little bit more fun questions, not necessarily X's and O's with football. And even the interview I did with him at the Super Bowl prior to the Eagles matchup, I did try to delve into the whole Brady-Belichick relationship. And it's one of those answers that I'm always going to think of when I think of Tom Brady, just because I'm looking at him and saying, do you think you and Bill will ever open up the scrapbook and take a trip down memory lane? And he looked at me like, are you crazy? And he goes, no. And of all the things Brady has ever said, that will stay with me for the rest of my life when you say, hey, Brady and Belichick. And I always think of, no. Like that answer. It's just like he laughed. He's like, you got to be kidding me. That's not what Bill does. But Brady did talk about his legacy on the Howard Stern show. This is courtesy of SiriusXM. And this is what he had to say.
I never cared about legacy. I mean, I could give about. I never once when I was in high school said, man, I can't wait for what my football legacy looks like. I mean, it's just not me. That's not my personality. So why would I choose a different place? It's because it was just time. I don't know what to say other than that. Like I had done everything. I accomplished everything I could in 2 decades with an incredible organization, an incredible group of people, and that will never change. And no one can ever take that away from me. No one can ever take those experience or Super Bowl championships away from us.
All right. They're too busy playing sometimes. We worry about legacies. How many times do you hear this? I'm even guilty of this. Oh, gosh, I wish he would have retired a year earlier. It's their careers. If Tom Brady wants to play till he's 45, great. Michael Jordan. I saw where Jerry Stackhouse says, I wish Michael hadn't come back to play with us with the Washington Wizards. Okay. But for Michael, it was important. But it was also important to become part owner of that team. It was important for the business side of Michael Jordan. And if Tom Brady wants to play, if Drew Brees wants to play, Peyton Manning at the end of his career, I didn't want to see him play another year. He sort of got through that year. You win a Super Bowl, and then you're done. There's certain players where you just go, I'd rather not remember you that way, but that's me being selfish. I hope Brady plays 2 more years. 3 more years. Because my Buccaneers, of course, are going to make the playoffs, and they're going to bring back the creamsicles, so then it comes back to me. This is about my memories here. But Brady, good for him. If he's fine with the legacy, and this doesn't do anything to his, this can add to his legacy. This does not subtract from his legacy. It does not. In my opinion, if he doesn't make the playoffs the next 2 years and he's an average quarterback, I don't think we're going to go, yeah, but the Buccaneer years. Remember when he went to Tampa Bay? When somebody goes, oh, Johnny Unitas with the Chargers or Joe Namath with the Rams. I like how we say we don't remember that, but we always bring it up. Does anybody know what stats they had? We just know that they went there and they weren't that good. Yeah, but the Charger years for Johnny Unitas. Here is Tom Brady talking about his loyalty with Bill Belichick and vice versa.
I think he has a lot of loyalty, and I think he and I have had a lot of conversations that nobody's ever been privy to, and nor should they be, that so many wrong assumptions were made about our relationship or about how he felt about me. I know genuinely how he feels about me.
I also love this. This is one where Brady realized, and Tom's dad gave us a heads up on this a couple of years ago. He said at some point, and I'm paraphrasing, Belichick will move on from Tom like he does everybody else. And I remember when we were going through this whole process, I said, always remember, to Belichick, it's business. To Brady, it's personal. It's always personal with the employee. The employer has to make it business. Here is what he had to say about Belichick being Belichick.
I'm not going to respond to every rumor or assumption that's made, other than what his responsibility as coach is to try to get the best player for the team, not only in the short term, but in the long term as well. So what I could control was trying to be the best I could be in both of those situations also. So I got into uncharted territory as an athlete because I started to break the mold of what, so many other athletes had experienced. So I got to a point where I was an older athlete, and he started to plan for the future, which is what his responsibility is. And I don't fault him for that. I mean, that's what he should be doing. That's what every coach should be doing.
Also understand Brady benefited from this style that Belichick had, that you could get rid of players. They're interchangeable. Except for Brady, he was the constant. Bill didn't discriminate. He'd get rid of young and old, all-pro, future Hall of Famer, or a guy who was just hanging. He didn't care. He's a businessman. We get caught up in, oh, gosh, you must have a great relationship. All the memories. He got rid of all of them. Troy Brown, Lawyer Malloy. I mean, run down the list. Richard Seymour. He didn't care. It's like, this is business. In our minds, Brady was telling us before last year when he sold his house and when his trainer partner put up his house as well. He was saying, this is my last year. We just didn't want to believe it. Somehow Rex Ryan got involved in this conversation, as only Rex Ryan can, who's now retired. He works for the mothership. The conversation was, I guess, who is more important for the success? Who would you rather have, Brady or Belichick? And we mentioned this yesterday. Who's more responsible for the success of the Patriots? And to me, it's a no-brainer. It's Belichick. And then Rex Ryan got involved in this. Rex said, if I've got to take one, I'm taking Brady. Ryan said he would have won a trophy case full of Lombardis if he had been coaching a quarterback as great as Brady. And although Ryan called Belichick the best of all time, he added that he doesn't think Belichick would have done as well if he would have been stuck with a bad quarterback like, say, Geno Smith, who Ryan coached in his last 2 years with the Jets. Rex goes on to say, let's give him somebody else. Let's give him Geno Smith. Let's give him whoever, and let's see how many Super Bowls he would have won. We saw the answer was 0 in Cleveland. Oh, Rex. Rex can be a clown sometimes. Didn't Rex draft Geno Smith? So you're right. Bill Belichick would not have won these Super Bowls with Geno Smith. But Bill Belichick wouldn't have drafted Geno Smith and gave him the keys to his offense there. So, I mean, Brady was, a 6th-round pick? He was pick number 199? So, I mean, he found somebody. Rex took Geno Smith. And, I feel bad for Geno Smith. He gets brought back into this. He did call Rex a snake, but, here's Rex, who's had quite a couple of weeks here where, what he called Amari Cooper, and now bringing Geno Smith into this. And the fact that Belichick didn't win in Cleveland, therefore proves that, hey, it's all about Tom Brady. Bill could have won a Super Bowl, I think, with a couple other quarterbacks in there as well. But he probably would have been smart enough to say Geno Smith's probably not the quarterback that we want. Yes, McLovin, good morning.
Good morning. So ESPN, are they going to promote the heck out of Rex Ryan in the coming weeks? He's on this role. They must love this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, he's doing what he's supposed to do. I mean, this is what Rex did as a coach. I mean, he's sort of the ex-coach who's, bought into the Skip Bayless playbook. I mean, say things. Put it out there. Who cares if you need to back it up with any stats or something? But Rex is creating headlines, and that's what they want. Absolutely. Factually, I have some issues with that, but that's okay. Don't worry about that. Just have some fun and throw it out there. All right, we'll get some poll question suggestions here. What are you leaning towards, McLovin? By the way, the Masters would have started already today, and we'll talk to Jim Nantz. So Jim Nantz was going to have the national title game, and then he was going to have the Masters. Back-to-back biggest events that you can have, and I wonder what he's doing. Quarantined. Although I will say, if I'm quarantined where Jim lives, I'd be okay. I'm okay. I would be fine with that. McLovin, what do you have poll question-wise?
Okay, we have a scorcher, but I'm going to ask you a question first.
All right.
And you actually comment on this, do you really believe Tom Brady when he says he doesn't care about his legacy? Because a lot of people were skeptical about
that. I think he knows it's firmly established. I don't think he can hurt it. Now, I don't know if he's ever cared about his legacy. I would say I doubt that. When he won that 4th Super Bowl, I have to believe he's thinking, if I get to 5, now all of a sudden I've got more than my childhood idol, Joe Montana. So do I think that he had that? Yes. Now, the debate is over, so maybe he doesn't think about his legacy. But when he won his 4th, I have to believe he's thinking, if I win my 5th, I mean, we're talking about that with, Kobe going after Jordan, with LeBron going after Jordan. I think they think of their legacies, and I feel like Brady is, the same as those guys. You get to that point where now you can't, I've ended the debate. And I think that's what Tom did when he won his 5th. Yeah, Paulie.
And if he is thinking about it, he must be thinking there's upside in Tampa Bay. If I get a ring in the next 2 years with Tampa Bay without my old coach, with Bruce Arians, then people, when they say, who was it? Who was the main cog in this? Yeah. He would go scoreboard.
Oh, it'll definitely change, I think, the conversation. I would say narrative, but I hate using that word narrative. It changed the conversation where you go, hey, Tom went to a Super Bowl with Tampa. And is Belichick going to go back to the Super Bowl anytime soon? Who goes to a Super Bowl first between those two? This program brought to you by LegalZoom. LegalZoom has made it easy to set up the right estate plan without leaving your home. Take care of your family today. The right estate plan at LegalZoom.com. All right, McLovin, what other options?
Do you want me to? We all love this poll because we were debating it pre-show. Do you want me to say it now or after?
You're going to save it because I'm going to take a break, and it's that hot.
Hot.
We'll come back with Ernie Johnson on loan from TNT. Your phone calls are welcome. And Jack Nicklaus coming up at the top of next hour. We'll also talk to Jim Nantz, who will join us, and Dr. Myron Rolle, the former NFL defensive back. Take a break, 19 after the hour, just getting started on this Thursday. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Simply Safe Home Security. I can't say enough about how great this partner has been. With all the uncertainty in the world, feeling safe at home has never been more important, and that's why I want to mention Simply Safe, their home security. Longtime friends of the program. They make it easy. You get comprehensive protection for your home. There's no technician. So you're not allowing anybody into your house No salespeople. You'll get it. It's delivered to your doorstep, and then you will install it, and you can do that in under an hour. Your home is protected 24/7, emergency dispatch for break-ins, fire, and just 50 cents a day is what it's going to cost. U.S. News and World Report named Simply Safe, quote, the best overall home security of 2020, and I concur. Right now, when you head to simplysafedan.com, my listeners get free shipping, 60-day risk-free trial, and it depends on what you want with your home security. They have outdoor cameras, they have motion sensors, glass break sensor, video recording capabilities there that's sent right to the police, so they dispatch in 3.5 times faster. So there's a lot of great things there with Simply Safe. Go to simplysafedan.com and make sure they know that we sent you from Simply Safe, and all of us here wishing you safety and good health.
Guys, yesterday we talked about the Tampa Bay Bucks' new uniforms or cleaned up early 2000s uniforms. Now, the Atlanta Falcons kind of went the other way. They've got a whole bunch of uniforms. They got rid of the Atlanta and just put the ATL on there, which saves time, saves money. But I noticed something. Matt Ryan trying to look intimidating and badass. He looks like he could be in a golf commercial, with a pair of khaki shorts and some white spikes. He's not really intimidating anybody. But if you look at Matt Ryan's outfit, it kind of looks like Sandler in Longest Yard. It looks exactly like Sandler's uniform in Longest Yard. What do you guys think?
Yeah. This isn't going well for Atlanta. They still haven't recovered from 28-3.
This is part of that.
Yes, it is.
It looks more like a TV show about CPAs in the NFL, like accountants gone football player.
Is it pros versus Joes? And then you're not quite sure. Is Matt Ryan a pro and a Joe?
It looks like a movie where they didn't get the rights to use the logos of the NFL, so they have to kind of dumb it down by putting ATL instead of Atlanta.
It's an interesting pose by Matt Ryan there.
Yeah, you keep mentioning that.
Little dirty birdish. A little questionable.
How so?
He's kind of thrusting a little bit. It looks like he's posing for some kind of B-movie soft porn kind of thing coming up next on the Atlanta Falcons network.
For people who don't get it, can you demonstrate what you're talking about?
Sure.
Why would you ask me to do that?
It's a good thing that his camera on his computer doesn't go down far. Oh, no.
Oh,
no.
Oh, no.
We don't know. He doesn't have his leg up.
Still questionable.
Can we put a quarantine on Todd's?
more information about Tua Tagovailoa, and it's not good information. This is what the Miami Dolphins are going to face. The fear of taking him or the fear of passing on him. What is stronger? Because you're going to have that dilemma. The fear of passing on Tua or the fear that you take him, and then you run the risk of maybe a brittle, injury-prone quarterback. All right, McLovin, what are you going with?
Okay, would you rather be a doctor or a professional athlete? This is off our upcoming guest, Dr. Myron Rolle, former standout defensive back, Florida State NFL player. So would you rather your kid, be a doctor or a pro athlete?
What I want my kid to be. Publicly, I would say, well, doctor, of course, because they could give back to the community and they could change lives and save lives. But then there's part of me that'd be like, probably an athlete. Because I have 4 kids and nobody's athletic, I'd probably say, you know what? If they're a second baseman for the Detroit Tigers for 11 years, I'll take that. I'd be good with that. Anybody else joining me with the athlete? Yes, McLovin.
Well, second baseman for Detroit Tigers, they probably make $200 million. Baseball salaries are crazy, especially anyone up the middle of the field. Forget it. No, I don't think it's even close. Like, athletes are like today's society's gods. There's nothing that's even close. There's not a single job out there.
Anybody taking doctor? Yes, Paul.
Well, I got to qualify this. Is it podiatrist versus the ace starter for the Cubs?
No. You're not a high-profile athlete. My kid's the second baseman for the Tigers.
The Bears quarterback or a proctologist? I'm going Bears quarterback. Well, actually, I wouldn't want that.
They're both the same.
Yeah.
They're both crappy jobs.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. Seton O'Connor.
So do we just qualify it then by saying take salary out of it and everybody's making $300,000 a year or whatever doctors make?
I think I got to include the salary.
You do?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Athlete all day.
Yes, Todd.
I'm going to go doctor. As much as I'd love to see my son on some pro team and all that, and I'll be excited to go to a stadium and an arena to watch. There's just something about being able to say that your son or daughter is a doctor that would mean more to me than being a good or great athlete.
So that'd be just another doctor you wouldn't listen to.
Oh, no.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's not necessary. Is it though?
It is necessary.
I could be better about that.
Yeah.
I could do better about that.
That's always Todd's response. Yeah. Hey, you working out? You know, we could be better. I don't know who we is. You got a mouse in your pocket?
I'll go on the treadmill for 45 minutes, but then you have like a chicken parm here with Fritos. That doesn't work.
He's Ernie Johnson, Turner Sports host of Inside the NBA, outstanding sports personality, host, the winner of the Sports Emmy 4 times, and he joins us on the program. Ernie, how are you today?
DP, I am about as well as you can expect, and I hope you're doing well, too.
We're doing okay. Do you have a man cave at the home?
I have an office. I don't really call it a man cave. It is an office that has, the TV and has my work stuff in there and memorabilia and that kind of thing. But I just usually spend a lot of late nights in there when I'm doing research and that kind of thing and homework, and when everybody's asleep. But yeah, it's not a full-blown man cave because people can walk past it all the time. Kids can walk in, grandkids can walk in, dogs walk in. So it's my version.
Do you collect sports memorabilia?
Not intentionally, really. It's kind of crazy. I have a lot of stuff through the years, and I don't know if you do the same thing, but I'll throw something in a box. I'll throw a credential in a box. I'll throw various things. And the other day, or actually over the last few months, my wife and I have kind of said, she said, you need to get rid of some of this stuff that's in the basement. And so we have a room that's kind of set aside now. And I went through it the other day and I was amazed at some of the things that I had kept. Dan, I was started in the radio back in the 70s. And in 1977, I was working at Q105 Radio in Athens, and I actually kept a desk calendar, one of those with the flip-over pages, and in the bottom of a box was this desk calendar. So I started looking through it, and then I needed to call Bill Kratzer immediately because Bill was a great golfer at the University of Georgia. I would later work with him 25 years later on the PGA Championship, but here was a note for this December day that it was going to be Bill Kratzert Day at the University of Georgia Golf Course, and I needed to go cover it. And it was just very bizarre. And that was kind of like, you know what? It's kind of a good thing that you hold on to some of this stuff. I've been able to throw some away, but I do have some things that kind of have some meaning, you know, after years and years.
I can't throw stuff away. I mean, that's why I have the man cave. I moved into a big man cave or bigger man cave just because I have all of this stuff that I collected. And I knew one day it might come in handy, and it has, because I have a chance to show it all off. And I don't know what I'm going to do when I retire, because this is I have the best man cave anybody has.
I'm sure.
It's crazy.
And you know what's ridiculous is that I come to this. I have this dilemma. I'm standing in the middle of my basement, and I'm trying to decide if I should throw away this Goodwill Games T-shirt from Russia that has a bunch of mysterious, like coffee stains and dirt on it. And I'm saying, well, I can't really hang it up. I don't want people to, but I can't really throw it away either. So now it's back in a box, and it's hidden from my wife. So
why don't you film this, Ernie? Why don't you do a kind of a virtual tour of all the things that you might be throwing out?
I've thought about doing that. I've thought about going down into because really I now have like these two rooms. I have the office upstairs, and I have this place in the basement downstairs, a room that we finished, where I have hung a few things up, and you got a Cal Ripken jersey down there, and I've got a few other, things and hats from all various events and memos that were, I have memos from Turner in the 80s, that I've held on to. And there's just part of me that says, don't let go of that. And so, yeah, it would kind of be a fun virtual tour. And these days, we're all looking for fun virtual things to do, aren't we?
Absolutely. Ernie Johnson, Turner Sports host and host of Inside the NBA. What do you miss most about Shaq?
His laugh, probably, and the joy he gets out of coming into work and trying to do something that gets 2 billion YouTube hits. I think that's probably. But I kind of miss them all for the same reason. I miss him and Kenny and Charles all for that same reason, that we just have this I can't describe the bond we have, but I've told people that I grew up with 2 older sisters, and this is as close as I'll ever come to having brothers, and I just miss hanging with them, man. It's like you just miss the little things about being together and doing the show, and you miss the 2:15 comments about, from Kenny, threatening the producer, saying, we better hurry up these last 2 segments. I got to get out of here at 2:15 in the morning. So I miss all that stuff.
If I would have told you a month ago this is where we would be with the NBA, what would you have said?
I think I would have believed that at that point. I mean, because it really has been, it's been a month, and that night that there were no games for the first time, the night after the suspension, and we had Adam Silver on the show, and just the vibe that we got from him and talking to him was, like, hey, this is a great unknown, and we just kind of have to wait. And so I'd never thought at that point that, hey, maybe in a couple of weeks things will be back to normal. But then when I spoke to him earlier this week, again, we had this initiative called hashtag NBA Together, in which we just kind of catch up to people around the NBA. Might spend 15, 20 minutes, might spend a half hour with them on the phone. And I asked him that same thing. I said, Adam, do you know any more than we knew when we spoke a month ago? And he's like, not really. He said, I know enough to say that we're not going to have any kind of a decision in the month of April about where we're going. And so, yeah, it's, I just hope we're all coping the right way. And I know, look, can I be totally honest with you, Dan? I've been inconvenienced. I can say that. Look, there are people out there who are really, really struggling during this time. We've been inconvenienced by a schedule. I still am able to do work from my house, to do these interviews and to do like a virtual journalism school for for college kids, and we're doing okay. But man, my heart just goes out for those folks who are hoping that a ventilator shows up and that face masks show up. Man, this is very hard. I watched that movie Contagion the other night.
Yeah.
I told myself I wasn't going to do it,
Yeah.
and the neighbor said you should watch it. Yeah. And it's amazing how this 2011 movie mirrors what we're looking at now in many respects.
You can see Ernie interviewing some of the biggest names in the NBA on episodes of #NBA Together Mondays and Wednesdays. Visit at NBA handle on social media. Co-host of the Steam Room podcast with Charles Barkley. Also, Ernie has his journalism school, and you can find out more at Turner Sports EJ. I thought about you yesterday. We had Hank Aaron on, and the anniversary of him breaking Babe Ruth's record, and he was one of my favorite people. He's 86 years of age, and I thought of your father too. Longtime broadcaster for the Braves. And then I thought of Craig Sager, because Sager's on the damn field at home plate with a white trench coat. And I'm going, only Sager could do it. And I think he has his little portable radio microphone that he's holding up. It's still so surrealistic, where two guys run on the field. Hank is trying to keep his dignity, rounding third, heading for home. And there's Craig Sager chasing him to home plate.
With the same haircut from
Sager went wire to wire with that. He went wire to wire. Yeah.
It never changed, and it is amazing to consider that, because when you think about these days, and obviously how tight security is at all these events, that a guy could run out with that trench coat with a Radio Shack tape recorder, no visible credential, and that haircut, and speak with Hank Aaron as he touches home plate is absolutely stunning.
I know.
Did the Hammer remember Craig in that scene at the plate?
He said one of the guys who came onto the field became a doctor. He remembered his mom holding on tightly. I didn't bring up Sager, but I'm sure Hank probably is wondering, I got all my teammates out here, my mom and some dude in a bad haircut and a trench coat.
That's exactly right. But I think Craig actually did get like a usable couple of seconds out of that from hearing the playback later, because you could hear his question like, "Hey Henry, hey," and then you hear people kind of going crazy around him. But that was Sags. That was the guy who's like, if there was a big event anywhere, he wanted to be there, even if we weren't covering it. And back then, he was a radio guy in Florida somewhere.
Yeah, who
had gone up there to say, I'm going to cover this game. But who knew that his designs were to actually greet Henry at the plate? That was one of the classic. It's almost like if you were watching a movie where a guy was dreaming about he wished he had been at the ballpark when Henry Aaron hit 715, and then he envisioned himself as this guy. But it was a real life deal for Sags, man. I shake my head, and it brings a smile in my face, because that's the way Sags went after it, man. It didn't have to be an assignment like for Turner for him to be at a big event.
Oh,
too.
he just loved it. He truly loved going to those events. I'll leave you with this. Where do you think we're going to get to where we're at the point of no return with trying to squeeze in playoffs here with this season? You got a feel for that?
I don't know. I tried to get that. I tried to get, really kind of any kind of a timeline from the commissioner the other day, and it would probably be, for me, it'd be all speculation. So I don't, but I'm looking at it and I'm saying, if you come back in June, and I don't know. I mean, can you finish a regular season? That's why there are so many variables. Can you finish a regular season and give a team like the Portland Trail Blazers, that's number 9 right now, a chance to move up to 8 over 15 games? I don't think and then you're saying, how is this going to impact next season?
Yeah.
Then how do you want to? So DP, I'm not trying to dodge it, but I am trying to dodge it because I don't want to put something out there that suddenly people are saying, oh, they think he thinks it's going to start in June. I have no idea. And I told the commissioner the other day, I said, look, if I've heard all these things about going to Vegas and having a tournament and all this stuff and quarantining the teams, and I just said, unless we can be absolutely certain and that every medical official has signed off on this and said it's not going to be a danger to anybody's health, well, you better be sure, because as long as there is the possibility, there are worse things in the world than not being able to crown a champion in the NBA this year. I just think for the greater good, you've got to consider all that. So I hope we're back playing. But man, there's a lot more. There's a lot more stuff to consider these days. It's that weighs a lot heavier than that.
Hope the family's great. Always great to talk to you, Ernie. Thank you, and hopefully talk soon and have some basketball to talk about.
Yeah, we're doing well here. Hope you guys are too, and we'll get through this. And yeah, we'll talk again, and I'll give you a virtual tour of that room.
I can't wait. Thank you, Ernie. That's Ernie Johnson, TNT. We'll take a break. We got our play of the day coming up. Jack Nicklaus at the top of the hour. And we'll also check in with Jim Nantz, who will join us in the final hour of the program. Back after this. There is that day when we're going to realize that we're at the end of the show, that we're done. And this, to me, was a moment where I thought this could end the show. Totally devastated.
You watch him every morning. He's a weirdo. And off camera, he's just as weird. And he's amazing. And I hug him every single time that I see him. Put your hands together for Todd Fritz.
Fritzy's stand-up routine Friday. I knew he always had the talent. I just didn't know if he could put it all together, but I was rooting for him.
Okay, I think one of the lines, I didn't want to give it away, but something to the effect of, my mom, after I'm going to rip her a bit about how crazy she is, she's, actually a very kind, sweet, compassionate person. She'd take the shirt off her back for anybody. Hopefully she won't do that anytime soon. She's not exactly the most fit woman in the world. And, I'm not going to be selling any Bowflex or Peloton bikes.
I have a saying with Fritzy. I always go, cut it in half, and then cut it in half when he has an answer. And I would say the same thing to him with his jokes. Cut it in half, and then cut it in half.
So how's everybody doing tonight?
Not many comedians go 21 minutes first time out of the gate. You see 5, 7, 9. That's a problem. That's a problem.
Oh my God!
The play of the day.
Running left side, got it!
Ready to play it and play it. This is the play of the day. Check this out.
Jack Nicklaus now will try to finish with birdie. Winner in 1963, 1965, 1966. The back-to-back championships, the only time that's been accomplished. And so a champion has been determined.
Wow. Pick up the enthusiasm there. And now, Jack Nicklaus, a chance to win the fourth of 6 Masters championships.
The champion has been determined.
Jack
Nicklaus is our champion.
Led wire to wire. That was 48 years ago today. Courtesy
Can
of
you
CBS.
believe this?
This is like once the tournament's over, you can have excitement there. When you're getting ready, when he's getting ready to putt. I mean, nobody's putting after that. It's like, and he's done it. And the Golden Bear has won another green jacket. It's incredible.
Of all the things I've ever seen,
this is one of those.
Do you believe
the most exciting
in miracles? Yeah. A horse with no name. That was the #1 song on the charts 48 years ago. Mario does a pretty good job in putting the music together for our play of the day. So I look and it says song, A Horse with No Face.
I've been through the desert,
a horse with no face. America's #1 song 48 years ago when Jack Nicklaus won the 1972 Masters. And of course, who can forget that wonderful song, A Horse with No Face? It's a horse with no name. But Mario, he'll go, oh, I wasn't alive back then. Well, you spelled Nicklaus correctly. Come on. You're better than that. Play of the day. Play of the day brought to you by LegalZoom. They make it easy to set up the right estate plan without leaving your home. Take care of your family today with the right estate plan at LegalZoom.com. Jack will join us coming up at the top of the hour. I just noticed 2 years ago, Jack Nicklaus sent me a birthday gift. He sent me a picture that had a montage of a lot of his great golf wins, and then it said, Happy birthday, Dan. smiley face, and then it said Jack Nicklaus. Maybe he was just cleaning out his basement and thought, hey, what am I going to do with this thing? Nobody wants this. Oh, I sent one to Van Pelt and Greeny, and I'll send one to that Jim Patrick there who left ESPN. But Jack will join us coming up top of the hour. I saw this from Mike Lombardi. Mike Lombardi has worked in some front offices over his career. He's got a GM Shuffle podcast. And he was talking about Tua Tagovailoa. And from what I'm reading, it feels like Mike Lombardi is saying Tua Tagovailoa has broken his wrist twice, which would be new information. And by the way, they don't say which wrist. I'm assuming it's his left one, his throwing one. If it's his right one, I'm not as concerned. Lombardi said media draft experts don't consider durability and injury histories enough putting together their mock drafts. He says he's brittle. You can't deny it. You can't deny it. He said 2 teams have flunked Tagovailoa on his physical. It comes down to this. The fear, like what is going to scare you more? The fear of taking him or the fear of passing on him? I understand if Miami takes him and you don't play in this first year, but if you're trading up to get Tua, that's when the fear really sets in. If you say, I got to go up 2 spots, if he's there at 5, okay. But if I now have to go up to 3 and I have to give up a number 1 to the Lions to go to 3 to ensure I get him, because I think the Chargers would be interested in him, and the Dolphins are saying they might be interested in Justin Herbert. Okay. Is there a mystery team that might want to go up and get him? And I know it sounds crazy because they have Derek Carr and they have Marcus Mariota, but I do wonder about Tua as a Raider. They have draft picks. I don't know, because nobody is going to show you their cards. I mean, you're crazy to tell anybody the truth nowadays. And that's why I keep thinking, all right, we're eventually going to get the truth. It'll start to leak out maybe 2 days before the draft. That's when you start to get some real information here. But I can't imagine that if the Miami Dolphins have to move up and offer up a number 1 pick to the Lions, I don't know. That's when the fear starts to set in, a fear of taking him, not passing. Yeah, McLevin.
We're going to break the internet just based on that statement. Raiders like Tua ? That's very, very intriguing. It makes a lot of sense.
Somebody is going to be interested in one of these quarterbacks. They are. It happens every year. And I don't know. There's always a mystery team where you go, oh, I didn't know that they were interested in him. What are you willing to give up to go up and get him? Is somebody going to wait for Jordan Love to fall into their lap? Like, if the Dolphins could wait for Jordan Love to develop, that might make more sense if you really like him and you have Ryan Fitzpatrick at least for a year, because Jordan Love is not going to be ready for probably 2 years at the earliest. But got a little bit of time, a little bit of misinformation usually thrown out there. But, that's Mike Lombardi, who's well respected and says that he thinks Tua's broken that wrist twice. Jack Nicklaus will join us coming up in 10 minutes from now here on The Dan Patrick Show.
Dan, I'm a memorabilia niche guy. Niche. There's certain pieces of memorabilia that I would like that most other people I don't think would want as much as I would. If I had the funds, these are the kind of things I would buy. The 86 Masters, I remember every bit of it. I watched all of it. And Jack Nicklaus, who wouldn't want a piece of memorabilia from Jack Nicklaus? But this is the one that I want. Here's a picture. Here's Jack walking in the putt. I want these pants.
Ooh.
Now, I think we asked Jack years ago. I don't know if we've asked him about Mr. Nicklaus about these pants. But if I could obtain like Bob Knight's coat, the plaid coat from the title game in 81, I would want that. But these pants are a one seed for me. Now, I would wear them. I wouldn't I would both put them up in my house and probably wear them socially.
I might have worn pants like that, though. Sure. That's the problem.
Dayton? FMDJ days?
No. I mean, out for a date, maybe. Oh. But, yeah, I might have had something like that.
They should have known he was going to win the tournament when he walked out on Sunday morning.
You got to be good if you're wearing that.
Yes.
Right?
And what do you have?
I got to go into the mailroom. This is called a walk and talk in the business.
Oh, yeah.
And this is something that Jack Nicklaus sent to me 2 years ago on my birthday. And I'll show people in the mailroom.
Sweet.
And it says, "Hey, Dan, have a happy," and then he's got a smiley face, and then it just says, Jack Nicklaus. Who would have thought that Jack would put a smiley face? And so it was random, but randomly nice, and I appreciated that Jack was thinking of me on my birthday. I hope he knows he sent this to me. Thank you, Jack. Talk to you soon, like in 5 minutes.
Dan Patrick.
Welcome to the Dan Patrick Show.
Hank Aaron, Hall of Famer.
I've been watching your show. You're doing a magnificent job.
Bringing you the biggest guests and best sports talk on air.
Daniel Jeremiah, star of the NFL Network. If you could get a totally honest answer with Tom Brady on any topic, what would you want to know about?
Tom, if you were the quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens with their personnel, how many Super Bowls would you have won there? So I bet you if he told the truth, he'd say 10.
Really?
You've got arguably the greatest middle linebacker of all time, arguably the greatest free safety of all time, top 3 left tackle in NFL history in Jonathan Ogden.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave.
You just blew my mind there.
This is Dan Patrick.
Welcome to the program, already in progress. It's hour 2 on this Thursday. We spent some time with Ernie Johnson from TNT. Last hour, we'll talk to Jack Nicklaus, 18-time major winner. And it was on this day in 1972 that he won the 4th of his 6 green jackets. Jim Nantz, hello, friends. We'll talk to him what he thinks Augusta will be like in November. He'll join us coming up a little bit later on. And call him Dr. Myron Rolle, Mass General Hospital doctor. He'll talk about the coronavirus, the impact that it's had there. He's a former defensive back from Florida State, and in the NFL decided that he wanted to go into med school, and he is now a doctor. Got a poll question, McLevin. Are we going to stick with that from the first hour?
Yeah, because I want to see the results change. The question was, would you rather your kid be a doctor or a professional athlete? 57% said doctor.
Well, I think that's what you say publicly, but, this is an anonymous poll question. So if I said, I threw out, if your son could be the second baseman for the Detroit Tigers, would that be good? And then McLevin said, hey, I have a problem with that because they had 3 different second basemen for the Detroit Tigers.
And they're all terrible.
Yeah. But you're still the second baseman for, all right. How about you're the left fielder for the Seattle Mariners? Yes, McLevin.
Okay, I looked that up because Todd suggested that. They don't even have a starting left fielder. They're also terrible. Can I be a wide receiver for the?
Wait, so left field is empty?
They just platoon a bunch of random guys according to the stats. I'm not sure. I haven't watched the Mariners play since Griffey was there. But can I be a wide receiver for like the Jaguars?
Yeah, if you want to. Sure. Good luck with that. We spent some time talking about Tom Brady, the interview with Howard Stern yesterday. And, the point that I made with Tom Brady is Tom is so good at not telling you anything about football. But Howard was honing in on, let's talk about you, the person, in your personal life with your wife. And that's where I think he got some gold yesterday. And, he's talking about, look, we were going to see a marriage counselor. She basically said, hey, this is all about you, and it can't be. You got to help me out at home. And, just that's sort of what you wanted, a window into who is Tom Brady, because the guy we see feels a little robotic there. But what Howard was doing over that 2-hour period is you're just trying to chip away. You're just trying to get something, and then you follow up on it. And, we got some of that yesterday. Brady also, this is something that Brady became a victim of what happened with all of his other teammates, and that is Bill Belichick treated this like a business, and Brady, was treating it personally. He had 163 different players on at least one of his Super Bowl winning teams. Only, in fact, no player was on more than 3 of those teams. So interchangeable parts, and then Tom eventually got caught up in that he was one of those interchangeable parts. All right, we'll get to your phone calls, and let's make way for Jack Nicklaus, who joins us on the program. Good morning, Jack. How are you?
Hey, Dan. How you doing?
Where are you right now?
I'm at home. I've been here for about 3.5 weeks in the house.
What are you doing to kind of keep your mind going?
Well, I'm calling Dan Patrick occasionally to see if he'll talk to me.
I know. I had to tell you, Jack, not today. Call me tomorrow. Here, let's do it on the anniversary.
I can do that again. I'm not doing anything else. I'm telling you. I'm sitting here. I think I've watched Caddyshack about 4 times, and Stripes a couple of times, and a few Good Men. I think I've seen that a couple of times. I mean, you've watched a little bit of everything.
Is there a putting green or chipping area that you go out and can you do that?
Oh, I can, but I don't. I don't. I've got a little artificial putting green out in back, which I've had for about 7 or 8 years. I don't think I've ever hit a putt on it.
Really?
Well, I don't. Once I stopped playing golf, I just sort of, stopped doing that stuff.
This is the anniversary, I think, from your 72 Masters championship. But of all the championships, which one do you get the most questions about?
Well, I think obviously 86.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that 75 was a pretty good year, and that Weiskopf and Miller coming down the stretch. That was a heck of a tournament. But 86 is the one where I wasn't supposed to win, and nobody expected me to win, including me. I found lightning in the bottle, and it worked.
But also, when you go out and you just post a score, and then you're waiting, because normally you're usually in that final twosome, the difference between actually being out there competing with somebody or waiting to see what happens, how agonizing was that for you?
Well, I think that when we started the day, I was 4 shots back, and I had 8 players in front of me. And I thought that was reasonable. And my son Steve had called me in the morning, and he said, "What do you think, Pops?" And I said, "Well, Steve, I think 66 will tie it, 65 will win." He says, "Exact score I have in mind. Go shoot it." So I had sort of a little bit of a feel. And of course, Jackie was on the bag, and we got going. We didn't get a very good start, and we were sort of just even through 8 holes. Then I birdied the 9th hole, and then birdied 10, birdied 11. Sort of got a little enthusiasm. Then I bogeyed 12, but then I turned around and birdied 13. Of course, then I eagled 15, birdied 16, and birdied 17. And that's when I got into the lead of the tournament. So once I got into the lead of the tournament, I finished, and all of a sudden, it looks like I've got a shot to win. I went into the Jones cabin and sat there and was sitting on a couch and watching. I watched Tom Kite miss his putt at the last hole, and then I watched Seve had already passed because he hit it in the water at 15. But Greg Norman start to birdie he made I think like 4 or 5 birdies in a row. And I'm sitting on the couch, and I said, yeah, he's making too many birdies with me sitting here. So I got up and walked around behind the couch, stood up, and watched the last 2 holes. Birdied 17. I said, whoops, I'm going to stay here, though. But, there's nothing you can do about it. All you're sitting there doing is watching. And that's not usually been my mode. My mode is, you're right, being in one of the last couple of groups and playing for it right down to the end. But this time I was sitting there watching the last few groups, and I'll tell you that's a little harder.
What did you save from 1986 Masters?
What did I want from it?
Save. Like clubs, your plaid pants.
Well, oddly enough, I have every single golf club that I ever won a major with except one. And you can guess what that is. That's that big putter. I think I know where it is. I think it's sitting in Billy Scanlon, the tennis player's living room at home. I think I gave it to him one time to play, and I think it stayed in his bag. But I know I got every other club that I ever played with, and that's the one I'm missing. So I'm missing that. I have the clubs, but from that tournament, I realized that if you put your mind to something and I was relatively well prepared for the tournament, even though I was not in the peak of my game. And all of a sudden, I got to the last 9 holes, and I remembered how to play. And I remembered what it took to finish a golf tournament. And when you do that, that is so much fun, because all of a sudden I'm saying, okay, I got to do this, I got to do that, I can't do this, I can't do that. My abilities allow me to do this, my abilities won't allow me to do this, And all of a sudden, it all came together, and I finished the tournament. And that was what I came away with, is that I could still do something if you really put your mind to it.
But did you know you had lost that to then have to remember to get it back?
Well, I think everybody loses it. I mean, I know that your skills start to erode as you get into a certain age, and I was having more fun watching my kids play football and basketball and whatever, and so I wasn't working as hard at it, but the skills were there. They were just hidden, and so I had to go find them, and I really wasn't worried about pulling them out until all of a sudden I got myself in contention, and I needed to, and I did. So that was really very rewarding for me.
Talking to Jack Nicklaus, it was on this day, 1972, that he won his 4th of 6 green jackets. And you get to take them off site for a little while. Do you get to take them off for a year and then they have to go back to Augusta? Is that how the green jackets work?
Well, I never took mine off the site. I know that I remember Gary Player, the first time he won his, he got a call from Cliff Roberts. And he said, Cliff said to him, he said, Gary, we can't find your green jacket. Do you know where it is? He says, yes, Mr. Roberts, I've got it right here in South Africa. He says, well, it's not supposed to leave the property. He says, well, you can come get it anytime you want. But anyway, we got a big kick out of that. But, I never took mine off the property. And oddly enough, I tell you a quick story. I never got my own green jacket. The first year I won, they put a 46 long on me, and I'm about a 43 regular. And so the next year I came back, there was a jacket in my locker. It was Tom Dewey's jacket, former governor of New York. And his jacket fit me perfect, and they never gave me a green jacket. So I wore Tom Dewey's jacket for the next 25 years. And finally, in 1998, they were going to do a thing between 16 and 17, a water fountain, a story about it. And I was sitting down with Jack Stevens, who was the chairman then. He said, I told him the story. I'd never been presented a green jacket. He said, what? He said, all these years, everybody gets green jackets. You never got one? I said, nope, I've never had a green jacket. And he says, so anyway, I went home for the weekend and came back. And there was a note in my locker. You will go to the pro shop, and you will be fit for your green jacket. So the first green jacket I ever had was 1998.
That's amazing. Amazing. What do you think Augusta is going to play like in November?
I think it'll play all right. I think the fairways will be the question. I don't know what they'll do. I don't know whether they'll overseed them early or wait until after the tournament to overseed them, because the Bermuda fairways would play beautifully in November. The greens will be fine. There won't be any problem with the greens. Obviously, you won't have the color throughout the course. But if they can get the fairways good, I think the golf course will play fine. They're going to have shorter days. There's a lot more daylight in April than there is in November. So the sun will be a little bit of a different problem. Probably November, not that much wind. I think they'll have a good tournament. I don't think they probably. I'm delighted that they're going to have it. I didn't think they'd be able to get it in. I thought with all the other tournaments and all the other commitments that the tour has, to put it together was tough. They're putting all the major tournaments in except the British Open canceled. But I think it's great that they're going ahead and getting the Masters in.
In normal times, could you just show up and play at Augusta if you wanted to? I mean, not the tournament, but just show up to play the course?
Yeah, any former champion can come and play anytime he wants, but he can't bring guests. Now, Arnold and I were the only two regular members of the course. We were invited to join sometime during our career, and I can take guests and play anytime I want to, but I guess I'm the only one now. But it's really neat to be able to have some friends and say, hey, how would you like to go up to Augusta for the weekend? It's not many of them will drop what they've got to be able to go.
Well, I got to stay in the Eisenhower cabin and stay overnight there. And you just walk over to the grill room, and it was just a wonderful experience because nobody was there, and the caddies were wonderful. They're betting on you. I got traded on the first tee by a caddy. It was fun. And the most fun I had was when I went to 12, because 12, as an amateur, we play at the same yardage that the pros do. And when you're up there and you go, it doesn't look that difficult. And then all of a sudden I'm in Rays Creek after hitting an 8-iron. I go, yeah, I get it. The optical illusion of it's beautiful, but it's incredibly challenging there. Do you have great memories of 12?
Oh, yeah. The first year I played there, I was playing with a fellow named Roger McManus, and Roger hit a shot, and he hit it that went through the green, and I think Roger hit a 6-iron. Well, I said, I don't want to hit it through the green, so I hit 7-iron, and the ball ballooned right up in the air, and I made it about halfway across the creek. And I said, whoops. And so I figured out that you don't want to be throwing the ball real high in there. You want to keep it underneath the trees if you can. And for some reason, the hole plays much better left to right than it does right to left. Right to left, the ball goes across the green in the narrow side of it, and the green sort of works its way left to right a little bit and away from you. And so a left to right shot coming up the greens works in better, and it seems to work with the wind better. But I think I may have hit it in there another time during my career, but I didn't hit it in there very much after that first time. You learn what you did wrong, and then you go out and do in practice rounds and try to replicate what you were doing, and just sort of sit there and say, okay, I can't do that, I can do this, and you learn how to play it. But it's probably still I consider it probably the scariest par 3 in golf.
But, you have all the you have all the growth there, though, Jack. That's what it makes it seem like it's an optical illusion of it. Hey, that's beautiful. And then you realize, no, you got to put it on a small green. You don't want to go long with the bunker. You go short, it goes into the creek. The wind, as you're looking on 13, the wind above 13T, you just came off 11 with the flag, and you look at that, and I'm going, oh, my God, you could overprocess the information there.
Well, everybody overprocesses it, and you got to be a little bit lucky, and you got to sort of watch the wind. I don't know, I'm not sure which wind you watch, but you got to watch it so you don't get caught in a gust.
How many presidents have you played with?
Not that many. I was supposed to play with Eisenhower, and he got sick one day, and he ended up going around in an exhibition with Arnold and me, and then I played. Jerry Ford, I played a lot of rounds of golf with Jerry Ford. We played at Pebble Beach together quite often in the Crosby, and I played quite a few rounds with Clinton. Just played a few holes with H.W. Bush. Not played with George. We've been scheduled to play several times and never have made it. And of course, I played quite a bit of golf with Trump.
Now, out of that group, can you rank who's the best president you played with?
Well, they're all good presidents.
I mean, golfers as a golfer.
I think Trump's the best player.
Okay. All right.
Trump hits the ball quite nicely. He's pretty long. He's got a nice golf swing. He plays golf much the way I do now. He doesn't really care about a score. He goes out and hits the ball. If he hits it out of play, he says, "Okay, just give me another one." And he doesn't hold up play. He plays fast. He wants to have fun. Much like HW, he was not a scorer either. He just he wanted to play around the golf course. I understand that young George is a single-digit player and is a pretty good player now.
Oh.
But we haven't been able to put together. Clinton could have been a good player. He has a nice golf swing. I don't think he ever. He was one who just took so many mulligans that he never could find it. Which is all right. That was the way he played. He had fun, and so but Jerry Ford was a very serious golfer. He was about a 13, and he played to a 13. He'd shoot 84, 85, and he was a grinder, and he loved playing golf. Of course, he was an athlete, and he was a good athlete, and he just loved to play.
I'll leave you with this. Of all the years, and I've talked to you and everything I've read about you, I just realized that the mascot of your high school was Upper Arlington. Is that right? The Golden Bears?
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Is that where the nickname came from?
Well, it sort of came from there. In 1961, the year before I turned pro, or the fall when I turned pro, a fellow named Don Lawrence for the Melbourne Age in Australia wrote an article about me. Mark McCormick was down there, and he called me a cuddly golden bear in the article because I was large and blonde at the time. And so first contract I had was with a Revere Sportswear out of Boston, and they were looking for an emblem, and we kept going through all kinds of things, trying to find some kind of a crest or an emblem. And, I said, "Hey, guys, I like the Golden Bear. I was a Golden Bear in high school. I've been a Golden Bear all my life. Why don't we just stay a Golden Bear?" And that's how it happened.
Wow. I did not know that. I forgot all about Upper Arlington and the Golden Bears. It's great to hear from you. Thanks for sharing, and hope you don't have to go back to Caddyshack and Stripes anytime soon, and maybe add something else to your TV repertoire.
If they put anything decent on, I would. or if I could figure out how to work Netflix.
Oh no, that's what you have grandkids for.
Oh, I know, and I'm telling you, I'm a electronic idiot. I am terrible. But anyway, Barbara and I have been watching them. We turn on a TV series and we watch about one series, and she says, "I don't like that." I said, "Okay." So we try another one, and she said, "I don't like that." I said, "Okay." So we keep fiddling, but anyway, we're getting through it, and we're doing all right.
Thank you, Jack. Great to talk to you. We appreciate it as always.
Okay, Dan. Nice talking to you.
That is Jack Nicklaus. Yeah, Paul.
If it was possible to like Jack Nicklaus even more, what have you been doing the past few weeks? Watching Caddyshack and Stripes. Sounds like every friend of mine.
We'll take a break here. We'll talk to Dr. Myron Rolle, and he's up at Mass General, so he's in the throes of all of this with the coronavirus, and I've seen him interviewed on some of these news programs, and former football player, and it's one of those where when somebody goes to med school, they sort of disappear for a decade. Where you go, "Hey, where you been? Med school. Oh, I haven't seen you in like 8 or 9 years." I'm thinking, wow. And he decided to pass on football and go into med school. So we'll talk to Dr. Myron Rolle and Jim Nantz coming up top of the hour. Take a break, 21 after the hour. This is the Dan Patrick Show. Check things all the time, your email, your Instagram, but what about checking something as important as your credit? Discover will help you do that. It's quick, it's easy, and best of all, Todd likes this, it's free. Discover's now offering FICO credit scores, and that's a score used by 90% of top lenders. It's really important, but you can find it out for free, even if you're not a customer. Check your score, and it won't hurt your credit, and you can check each month for changes. Discover Credit Scorecard, free for everyone. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply.
You mix Todd's mouth, perviness, and 85 drunken people, you never know what you're going to get.
If you're going to pop somebody, you're popping Paulie first, right?
Yeah. There have been moments over 14 and a half years over dinner with my wife and kids when I'm like in tears over a communication we had. Like, this guy, I should probably lay this guy out at some point.
I know I bag on Todd a lot, give him a lot of grief, but I wanted him to hit a home run. And I actually went to a couple tables where I saw some people drinking quite a bit. And I said, hey, no heckling, all support. No heckling, all support. And I know some of the other guys did too, because we wanted everyone in his corner. That said, he did it on his own. There was no faux laughter. He did 17 minutes, which I thought he would do maybe 5 to 7 max. But he had a lot of the mannerisms you want, the way he was stalking the stage, like Chris Rock was his favorite, and his pauses were really good. He had such a natural comedic timing that I don't even think he knew he had because he loves stand-up comedians.
I thought it was a home field advantage for him that we brought in our listeners, and it felt like they were reacting to anything he said. I'd like to see it on a neutral playing field and just to see how he does with the audience.
So I'm going to disagree with Dan and say that would have played anywhere because Todd had good comic principles of everyone's got issues with their wife or their spouse, right? Everyone's got this or that going on. Everything Todd said was very relatable. Even like he talked about bowel issues.
I've seen Fritzy when he's backed into a corner. I've seen Fritzy when he's made uncomfortable, when he's not welcome, when he's not loved. And it's not a pretty picture.
I'm sure there's people listening who would think, wow, I can't believe someone's actually taking on this topic because I watch a lot of comedians. I've never seen a bowel humor comic. Todd's kind of got a niche there. I'm not making fun of him. It could be like one of his things. And he crushed it.
I personally don't find Todd funny.
This program brought to you by Mercedes AMG. Be prepared for whatever comes your way. It's the all-new GT4-door coupe. Life is a race. Visit your local dealership for a test drive today. If you missed any of our interviews this week, certainly the interview that we had with Jack Nicklaus or Hank Aaron yesterday, you can go to the DP Show app, watch and listen from inside the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave. Mercedes-AMG driving performance. Coming up, we'll talk about some NFL teams are a little bit riled up, upset that Jerry Jones and his son get to conduct the draft together in the same room. They think that's an unfair advantage. When's the last time a team thought that Jerry Jones with his son in a room together for any draft was an unfair advantage? Come on, you guys are soft. Former Florida State, former NFL player, drafted, I think, by the Titans back in 2010 out of Florida State. He's now Dr. Myron Rolle, who joins us on the program. Doctor, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Dan. I appreciate it.
If you can give us an idea of what the last month has been like, and compare that to any other month that you would have on the job.
Wow, it's been intense. I'm just coming off a 24-hour shift, but our hospital has been transformed. When you walk in, it's almost like an airport security line where you have to have a mask. Everyone, regardless of your position or title within the MGH Mass General Hospital community, you have to wear this mask. Our hallways are bare now because the visitor policy has been restricted. You can't have any family members or any visitors. Our outpatient clinics are now done all virtually. We'll call our patients with results of CAT scans and let them know that we have to reschedule their cases because the operating rooms are canceling elective cases. We're only doing emergent or urgent cases. Our neurosurgical floor is transformed into a COVID-19 only floor, and then there's this surge clinic at the hospital within a hospital to sort of offload some of the heavy influx of patients that have come off the street with COVID-19 or symptoms analogous to it. So, as a neurosurgery resident, I went into this passion of mine to operate on the brain and spine and the peripheral nerves. But now myself and my colleagues, we've been redeployed and redistributing our skill set, I guess, or just our time and our energy to helping fight this COVID-19 effort or this COVID-19 issue that's happening. And it's a hospital-wide approach, and it's vastly different than what we've seen in Boston. It's going to get worse probably in the next week or two. So we're preparing for even more challenging days ahead.
But you go to med school for neurosurgery, but now you're doing something with a virus that, it feels like you're going back to medical school, but you're doing it in real time with real patients with lives on the line.
That's right. And, I would say that it is a change-up, certainly. There are some crossover traits between COVID-19 and neurosurgery. For instance, surgeries that happen near the sinus, through the nose, transsphenoidals, anything that can sort of aerosolize particles, that can potentially infect us as neurosurgeons. We use a lot of electrocautery and high-speed drills in our cases, and that has been shown to maybe aerosolize some of the body fluids to potentially infect us. But you're right. At baseline, we have to learn not new, but sort of relearn approaches to affect change in this upper respiratory illness. But I think to our advantage, we're a teaching hospital, and we have wonderful medical doctors, infectious disease doctors who are really, really stepping out front and helping us sort of manage that learning curve a little bit so we can kind of come in and not have to do anything truly outside of our scope of practice, like intubating somebody emergently, but, be able to handle some of the more fundamental aspects of their care. And it's really just about manpower right now. The personnel, we need it at the hospital level, and we have to be able to adapt and adjust.
We had Tony Baselli on, the former NFL lineman, Hall of Fame finalist last couple of years, and he contracted the coronavirus. And he said, I'm alone in a hospital room, and I'm thinking, is this where I'm going to die? Like, going to your job, you're seeing people, we're seeing this in New York where, the medical staff has to almost choose who they can try to save and who they can't. I mean, how do you process that, Doc?
That's very difficult, and it's even more difficult when, as Mr. Baselli said, when you're alone, when you don't have your family around because they're just not able to be there based on the hospital's policy. These end-of-life and goals of care discussions are happening over the phone, and you're like, man, this is unbelievable. But I will say that, these patients have, as you know, a lot of them do, have comorbidities and pre-existing conditions that already put them in harm's way and make them very high risk as a subset of the demographic. And when this COVID-19 hits, it sort of sits for a little bit, and then maybe after day 5 or 6 or 7, to quickly decompensate. So it's challenging, and I hope that these stories that we're hearing, that anecdotal stories that you're hearing, allows people who are maybe not connected to the healthcare industry or not connected to the hospital world can see that this is serious, this is real. Stay away from those beaches that you're going to as convenient. Stay away from those highly frequented places that are just full of people, and really do your part as a normal citizen, sort of affect change in your lane, because that's important for all of us to do.
He's Dr. Myron Rolle, neurosurgery resident at Harvard, the Massachusetts General Hospital, a Rhodes Scholar, former NFL safety. Was it 6th round by the Titans? Does that sound right?
That's correct, 6th round, yes, sir.
Okay, how close were you to staying with football?
Very close. I played football my whole life since I was 6 years old. My father is from the Bahamas, but my parents are from the Bahamas. And they started the American Football League back home, and when we came to America, football was a huge part of my life. And my cousins, Samari and Ernie Johnson, played in the NFL. I went to Florida State because Bobby Bowden had a pedigree of putting guys in the NFL, Deion Sanders and Leroy Butler, and all these great athletes, great corners and great safeties. So when the decision had to be made whether I was going to stay, continue to play, or move on to this next career, I prayed about it, talked to my family and friends, and realized that practically I made enough money to pay for medical school. Also, my hands were still healthy enough to actually operate, because I always wanted to be a neurosurgeon, and then I didn't have any concussions or traumatic brain injury that would prevent me from thinking, clearly as I went forward in my next career. So I made the tough choice, went ahead and went to medicine, and it's been a blessing because now I'm able to advocate now for football as well in the concussion spectrum, but then also be able to take care of people who are very sick, like moments like this.
How concerned are you that you're going to contract the coronavirus?
I'm very concerned, and we all are, certainly. I try to protect myself every time I go into a patient's room. The thing is, coronavirus doesn't just hit one patient, and that's like the only pathology or malady that they have, right? So they call us as a neurosurgeon. This patient may have a brain bleed or a brain tumor or a tumor in their spine or some sort of neurosurgical disease burden, but they also have COVID-19. So I walk into these rooms and I try to protect myself as best as I can. I go in, get my physical exam quickly, get my history quickly, be efficient, get all my tasks done so I don't have to re-enter the room 5 or 6 or 7 times to potentially infect myself. I got married 4 months ago, and I sent my wife down south to be with her sister. So I'm trying to make sure I'm not bringing anything home to her. So I'm just trying to make adjustments in my own life so I can be able to protect myself and protect the people around me.
Being in neurosurgery, I'm curious about the future of new helmets in the NFL, concussions. Has the NFL asked you about this, or looking for you to advise in maybe how we make a new helmet that can protect the brain even more?
They have not asked me. I would certainly love for them to do so, because I love the sport so much. For sure, I wanted to stay around. It's helped me so much. It's helped my family. I'm using the traits that football taught me as a physician, and anytime I mentor the young kids from Florida State who I talk to, I tell them that if you have interest in science or medicine or just helping people, really think about being a physician or a physician assistant, nurse practitioner, nurse, something in healthcare, because the crossover is just really seamless. But yeah, I would certainly love to help partake in new technology and new ways, innovative ways to find out how to make the game safer at all levels, particularly in young football, young leagues, Pop Warner, the youth football leagues, because I think that's where it really starts. You sort of have this buildup of chronic hits to the head that maybe just gets illuminated once you get to the high velocity impacts of high level college football or maybe professional football. But I think it starts young. So if we look back, kind of go upstream and try to figure things out that way, we might be able to rectify the situation and keep the game safe and preserve it.
You're kind of a show-off here. 4.0 grade point average in high school. I think you had the lead role in Fiddler on the Roof, the musical. You go to Oxford. You're a Rhodes Scholar. You're kind of a ball hog, Doc. Come on.
Well, it's a blessing for sure. I did not sing well as a white Russian Jewish milkman, but it was a lot of fun.
We found something you don't do well. Thank you. Go get some sleep, and we appreciate what you're doing. Thank you, Doc.
All right, thanks, Dan. Appreciate you.
That's Dr. Myron Rolle. I forgot about his two other brothers playing in the NFL, come from the Bahamas. Oh, man. I feel like a loser after that.
You're a pretty successful guy,
Yeah, I'm
too.
okay, but gosh.
I think we feel.
Neurosurgery resident at Harvard. And I remember when he made the decision, I'm going, wow, he's going to leave the NFL. And I think it was with the Titans and the Steelers, so maybe he wasn't going to have a long career, but he decided he was going into med school. And Rhodes Scholar, former NFL safety, and now Massachusetts General Hospital. And you're taught, you're studying, this is your specialty, and then the coronavirus hits. And now you're kind of learning what the coronavirus is. What do you do? What do you not do? How can you help? This is, I mean, it's an emergency room situation there. But he's a neurosurgeon. Pretty remarkable. Pretty remarkable. All right, we'll take a break. Some NFL teams apparently are upset with the Dallas Cowboys. And Jerry Jones and his son get to be in the same room on the night of the draft. What an unfair advantage. That story's coming up.
Well, yeah, now that he's some big stand-up comic, it'd be nice if Todd brought some of that humor to the Dan Patrick Show. How about that, Todd? Why don't you try being funny on our show once instead of your show?
I'm trying to use what God has given me as far as a sense of humor and see if I can share that without sounding too dramatic with the world.
And he said that seriously, or was he joking? That his comedic abilities are a gift from God. What a lunatic.
I personally don't find Todd funny.
Wow. I don't know why McLovin would say I'm not funny. Maybe he's heard all my shtick.
Everyone out there in the audience is hearing this for the first time. I live with it every day. Basically, they get a little slice of what it's like to be on the back row of the Dan Patrick Show by being in the crowd. So basically, I'm hearing a version of this stand-up all day. People don't see it. They see Todd on the phone calling guests and stuff, but in between the quiet moments, he'll try out his material on me. So I really know the act. I don't even need to go. I'm not trying to get out of it, but I'm saying I could do it basically verbatim.
I don't think it's a competition thing or a jealousy thing, although he does like attention, and that's I'm not breaking any news here, that he does like when, the topic of discussion is focused on him.
Is it possible that some of this is going to Todd's head?
At the fundamental, most important level, the rush that I get from making people of different ethnic groups and ages and genders all somehow laughing hard at the same story or topic, that's a big deal to me.
I don't know if Crohn's disease is really something that people are like, God, I love this Crohn's stuff, We do it with Todd because he loves it, but because we love him, and he tells those stories and we sort of know them, and you want to be supportive of him.
I wonder if he's gonna walk up to everyone's table and say, hey, what are you eating for lunch? Is that a chicken sandwich? Because Todd does that to me every time. I'm like, why don't you order your own lunch? Why do you have to come stare at my food because you're hungry? Order. So I wonder if he's gonna do that. I don't hold any bitterness towards that.
But certainly, I think I've honed my, I don't want to say skills, but being on the air every day with the show and the fact that we all joke and kibitz with each other and try to outdo each other a little bit with something clever to say on the show can only help enhance that. But that's very different than coming up with material or everyday things that happen in your life and stories and topics and having the guts to go on stage in front of a live audience as opposed to a microphone and when there's nobody here except our little group. I think it's a whole different ballgame, like a stand-up comedy routine versus making some kind of clever comment off of a topic or issue in the sports world.
I saw this headline. NFL teams think Cowboys have, quote, unfair draft advantage. Adam Schefter was reporting. There are issues where other teams are saying it's not fair that Jerry and his son Stephen Jones get to be together in the same home on draft day. Man, it feels like teams are building in excuses if they screw up their draft pick. You have your boards already. Talked to a source yesterday, and he said, if you have your bleep together, you've got your boards together, you're ready to draft right now. Now, something may change where a guy is going to fall into your lap, or you might make a trade, but you do preemptive conversations with people. Hey, if this guy is here when we take him, are you interested in him? Or if you're interested in him, let us know. I think there's conversations that are going on right now. Now they don't want to let the IT guy into somebody's home because, you know, we're self-quarantining. I get that. There's small issues that it's guaranteed to go wrong for somebody at some point in the NFL draft. You know, will they allow you to have a timeout if you have a technical issue there? They're already going to do a mock draft, from what I'm told, just so teams get the feel of what it's going to be like. You're not going to be in the same room. But never would I ever think that somebody would say Jerry Jones and his son in the same room in their home is an unfair advantage. Schefter goes on to say it'll basically be every person for him or herself in their homes drafting virtually, and that's the change up there. They think that club personnel need to be in different homes while the draft is going on. Yeah, Paul.
Do you think this could work the other way and teams will take advantage of the timing and the communication? Hypothetically, let's say I'm the Vikings and I call the Bears with 90 seconds before on the clock, here's a trade. Got to do it now. And you don't have time to vet it in the room. That I think teams could go the other way with this and use it to their advantage.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. I don't know how nefarious teams are going to be when it comes to that with, although ask John Lynch with the Niners and the Bears. So I get the feeling, though, there'll be a trade early. I don't know how many trades. I think the wide receivers and the offensive linemen are going to be the stars of the first round here. You have the quarterbacks there. We know where Burrow is going. The question is, how badly does somebody want Tua? And is Justin Herbert going to be a top 6 pick? And then is Jordan Love going to be in the mix as well? The wide receivers, you got the 2 from Alabama, CeeDee Lamb from Oklahoma. So you have some interesting skill position players and then a lot of offensive linemen. But I would never think that is Steven, with a Bill Belichick's son, they're going to be in the same room together. Is that an unfair advantage? Yeah, McLovin.
Wait, why are Steven and Jerry in the same room? Like, they don't live together. And the last person I'm visiting right now is my parents. They should be quarantined just like everybody else. No, I'm being dead serious. Like, why would you bring Steven has kids, I assume? Like, why is he allowed in Jerry's house? It makes zero sense.
I mean, it's a fair point. Yeah, it's a fair point. But, even when my kids came back, 2 from school and then 2 that are working, I get nervous about that. But I don't know what precautions Jerry's taking to make sure that if they're in the same room. But it's not an unfair advantage. Like, how is that an unfair advantage? Yeah, McLevin.
Wasn't there something about Steven convincing him to take that guard instead of Johnny Manziel?
Zach Martin.
Yeah. So is that maybe the NFL is want let Jerry pick somebody bad? It's maybe Steven's the voice of reason.
I'm going to guess he can still be in touch with his son. Like just because they're there, they get to almost high five or almost hug or almost dap or like what? Like what? What's the big advantage? Hey, he gets to keep Jerry company. What? Yes, Todd.
Can they afford the technology to communicate directly with each other? Should we be concerned about them picking up the bill for that, the Joneses?
Well, no, they can pay for that. I just think that if you have the opportunity, thank you, Todd. If you have the opportunity to be in the same room, then you will. If you're allowed to, you will. But I can't sit here and go, gosh, the Cowboys are going to kill this draft because Jerry and his son are in the same room. It's going to come down to, do you take Jerry Jeudy or CeeDee Lamb? I can help him out with the first round. I'd take CeeDee Lamb, but that's just me. Yes, Paulie.
Well, we're not going to hang out with our parents because, all this stuff we're doing now, but they're employees. Stephen Jones is an employee of his father's. He's serving as an employee, not a son in this role.
Yeah.
So he may have other employees to his house. Remember, I don't know if the NFL is going to tell Jerry Jones, you can't have people at your house. You can't have a house full of advisors unless that's a hard rule for all NFL teams.
You're going to be on a conference call. That's what it'll be. You'll be on a conference call. But getting everybody's opinion, knowing who's giving you that opinion, how many people are on the conference call, talking over each other, you're going to have to sort that out. That's why they're doing a mock virtual draft where everybody gets an idea of what it feels like. It's not, hey, we can't get the pick in. You'll get the pick in. That's simple. You can hold up a big card that says, we're taking CeeDee Lamb. That's it. The confusion is going to be, or the possibility of disaster is, IT, making sure if you got Zoom, nobody is going to somehow hack into it. There's things that can happen. But I don't think Jerry Jones in the same room with his son is going to be an unfair advantage. Are there other teams that are, have siblings involved in this? I mean, Bengals family ownership, I don't know if that's an unfair advantage. Matt in Houston joins us on the program. Matt, what do you have for me today?
So I sell an audio conferencing service from Microsoft to all the enterprise accounts in the Houston market, and it's grown substantially. The biggest challenge that they're going to face is if you got 10 people from the same team on an audio conferencing, who's going to be able to speak up? Because one person's talking, and they're going to say, hey, wait, he needs to say something. This person needs to say something. It's hard for everybody to be communicating at the same time. So if you're up against the clock, who gets the final say? Because it's really difficult for them to all be talking at the same time.
Yeah, but we do that on this show. That's why whenever I call on the Nantz, they raise their hand. I call on them. But thank you, Matt. I have final say if I want to go to them and then how long they talk. But are they going to have a video screen there? Like I have Fritzy in front of me, and I have McLovin and Seton, and they won't be talking all at once, because if they did and they talked all at once, it would sound pretty weird.
Actually. We got
Wait, guys, are we taking Jerry Judy or CD Lamb? Oh no,
But I had my hand up.
We can't get the pick in. Oh no,
CD Lamb's a good.
and the Cowboys have not gotten their pick in. I don't think that's going to happen. That's a draft preview of what could happen for some team. We were talking all over each other. No, it'll be, hey, give me your thoughts. You went out and saw CD Lamb 4 times this year. You saw Jerry Judy twice. Give me your thoughts. Start with you, Todd. So that's how you do this. And then it'll be McLovin would give his thoughts. And then somebody else would throw in something there. Hey, I got somebody on the phone who wants to make a trade. I mean, obviously hypothetical, but that's what it's going to be like, I think. But you'll go around the room. If I can see you, then that certainly helps out with the communication part of this. But if everybody's on a conference call, being able to try to distribute information and do it in real time to be able to do your job, because if you're a scout, you want to make sure that you've done your job and gotten that information to the right person at the right time. I think the trades are going to be the hard part. Do you have a separate line, because you have your staff trying to process what you're going to do with your pick, and then you might have somebody saying, hey, I got Detroit on the line. Okay, where are they calling into? Is everybody going to have a sheet here of phone numbers here? This is who I call. This is the number for that team or that team. Jim Nantz is going to join us. Can you say dogwoods and foliage? Can we get Jim to throw in foliage in November at the Augusta tournament? The Masters is what they like to call it on CBS. Jim will join us coming up here next. Your final hour, Dan Patrick Show.
With the NFL draft in town, we decided to head down I-95 to scope out the Philadelphia bar scene. And to get the authentic Philly vibe, we enlisted the help of 2 locals, my buddies Dominic Palermo and Kyle Kimball of the band Nothing, to show us around town.
So what about Les and Doreen's? Why did you pick this place?
Well, this is a place where basically it's like one of the last standstill pillars of this neighborhood. You miss these bars where you open up at 6:30 in the morning. If I was out all night the night before, and I could, we got through to the after hours till 4:30, and then we'll hit Les and Doreen's at 6:30, and talk to the people at the bar.
One day, I want to walk down Broad Street for the Eagles. Done it for the Phillies.
I don't know, man.
Done it for the Sixers.
I might be out of luck.
I'm 55, man. Come on. Yeah. Sooner or later, yeah. We might going to be in a hospital.
Yeah, you might.
And I missed that last pass to win the Super Bowl. So it's good. It'll happen.
Neighborhood bars, there's something special about them. They're connecting.
And the first thing I did at 16, 17 is try to get out to Center City. Then I got to Center City, I was like, I need to go to New York. Then I got to New York, I was like, I'm going to LA. And I get to LA, and now all I want to do is be back in a place like this again, because this is about as honest as it gets. So it's and the beer is really, really cheap always.
Yes. Les and Doreen's Happy Tap. The perfect corner bar with cheap drinks, real people, and a quality jukebox. The perfect place to watch the draft with locals, even if your pre-draft coverage is starting at 7 a.m. Like this, quote, Philly local.
Doreen said we win a Super Bowl. We're going to pay it blue.
Doc Emmerich, Al Michaels, Jim Nantz. These are the gold standards in play-by-play sports commentating. But now, we introduce a new voice, a new face, a new name. Dan Gardella. the voice of the AUAA.
So I started getting into sports commentating my sophomore year of high school. This was after I came to the realization that I was not going to be a professional athlete, but I still wanted to work with sports, work around sports in any way possible.
Welcome back, Pios fans. I'm Dan Gardella.
How rewarding is it for you as a player to get a good win against a really good team? Welcome you once again to the Dan Patrick Show Fieldhouse. I'm Dan Gardella, as really another great's not the word to use. Go ahead, there he is. Jones, it rolls in!
I think the biggest challenge is just especially as a student, is just the time management. I mean, there have been many times where I've had 2 games to call, but at the same time I have project, a paper, homework. You have to be able to stay on top of your stuff, but at the same time know that you're calling a game. You have to be as prepared as possible. You have to be ready as soon as you get there. Todd, thanks so much for sitting down with me.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
When you're a star, you expect to get treated like a star.
Yeah, for sure. Andrew Perloff, our Sports Clips MVP in Game 2. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Dan.
As that wraps up, Week 3 regular season is done.
Since I got this gig with the AUAA, I don't want to brag, but people have taken notice.
Hey, Danny. Hey, Danny.
Hey, guys.
Buzz Nation, we got AUAA's finest, Dan Gardella. Dan, how you doing?
Great, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, this is Dan Gardella of the AUAA. You've reached Camilla's phone. Leave a message after the beep.
Are you Dan from the
God,
AUAA?
there's no way. Greg,
Yeah.
there's no way. There's no way.
Can you sign this autograph? Please?
Yeah, man.
I'm
Thank
such
you
a
so
big
much.
fan.
Yeah, we're such a big
Thanks,
fan.
guys.
This is my dream. Oh my God.
Okay, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Have
you
a good
so
day.
much. Have a great day.
No problem, guys.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Oh my God.
Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Dan Patrick.
Welcome to the Dan Patrick Show.
Hank Aaron, Hall of Famer.
I've been watching your show. You're doing a magnificent job.
Bringing you the biggest guests and best sports talk on air.
Daniel Jeremiah, star of the NFL Network. If you could get a totally honest answer with Tom Brady on any topic, what would you want to know about?
Tom, if you were the quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens with their personnel, how many Super Bowls would you have won there? So I bet you if he told the truth, he'd say 10.
Really?
You've got arguably the greatest middle linebacker of all time, arguably the greatest free safety of all time, top 3 left tackle in NFL history in Jonathan Ogden.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave.
You just blew my mind there.
This is Dan Patrick.
Final hour on this Thursday. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us. If you're watching, if you're listening, Jim Nantz will join us on loan from CBS Sports. Where would he be today? I know he would be in Augusta. Would he be at the tournament? Would he be broadcasting today at 11 o'clock Eastern? So Jim will join us coming up here in a moment. And what does he think Augusta is going to look like in November? 877-3DP-SHOW, email address, dp@danpatrick.com. Couple things to mention here. We spent some time talking about Howard Stern's interview with Tom Brady. There were a couple things that stood out, more on the personal side, because the professional side, the Patriot side, I didn't think I would get much out of that, and I didn't. Now, people said, do you really think that Tom Brady doesn't care about his legacy? This is what Brady told Howard Stern.
I never cared about legacy. I mean, I could give about. I never once when I was in high school said, man, I can't wait for what my football legacy looks like. I mean, it's just not me. That's not my personality. So why would I choose a different place? It's because it was just time. I don't know what to say other than that. Like, I had done everything. I accomplished everything I could in 2 decades with an incredible organization, an incredible group of people, and that will never change. And no one can ever take that away from me. No one can ever take those experience or Super Bowl championships away from us.
He's vague when he talks about this. You know, when you're saying it was just time. Well, something happened for it to become time. What are the series of events that led up to that? That's what I was curious about. Yeah, it was time. It run its course. He just wanted to have fun and try something new. But time is vague. It was time. But what led up to that? Is there a way they could have salvaged this? That's what I want to know. The other thing is he talked about he was a victim of what is part of the reason for the success of the Patriots. Everybody's interchangeable. And he talked about Belichick, doing that. Belichick's a businessman. Tom, you would take it personally. Bill did this to everybody, from good players, great players, to, average players. And Brady talked about that.
I'm not going to respond to every rumor or assumption that's made, other than what his responsibility as coach is to try to get the best player for the team, not only in the short term, but in the long term as well. So what I could control was trying to be the best I could be in both of those situations also. So I got into uncharted territory as an athlete because I started to break the mold of what, so many other athletes had experienced. So I got to a point where I was an older athlete, and he started to plan for the future, which is what his responsibility is. And I don't fault him for that. I mean, that's what he should be doing. That's what every coach should be doing.
Yeah, and Tom's dad talked about this a couple of years ago, saying that his son would eventually be the victim of, the same thing that Belichick did to all of these players. And you can run down the list. They had great players, and Bill would get rid of you a year early. We always applauded him. He'd get rid of you a year earlier than later. And that's what they did with Tom Brady. In Belichick's mind, I'm a businessman. And we were in the business of winning Super Bowls for 20 years. Now I'm going to be in business with somebody else to try to win a Super Bowl. Same thing with Richard Seymour, with Ty Law, with Lawyer Malloy. Run down the list of players who have played there. Bill Belichick is a cutthroat businessman. The employee takes it personally. Belichick doesn't, because he can't. Yeah, Paulie.
The one thing I'd like to know, and I don't think Howard would ask him this deep of a sports question, but did Belichick side with Garoppolo a few years ago, and that set up where we are today? Like, I believe that Belichick wanted to go with Garoppolo and move on from Brady at some point. Robert Kraft said nope and put a stop to it, and that led Brady to where we are today with Tampa, that he said, okay, you tried to move on from me a few years ago, now I'll move on from you.
But I don't know if Howard Stern asked about Deflategate. I didn't. It was a 2-hour interview. But if you say, all right, you're done with the Patriots, you've moved on. How did you feel when it didn't seem like your owner and coach backed you? Start there. How do you think those footballs got deflated? Okay, so I'm interested a little bit in that. But I think really the gold was, it was Tom Brady the person, because Tom Brady the football player is really good at not telling you anything about Tom Brady the football player. He wasn't that good in trying to shield the, questions from him and his wife. That to me was really interesting, where he was going to OTAs and she's saying, no, it's voluntary. I want you here holding up your end of the bargain. That to me, I found really, really interesting. And then there's a quote, Al Michaels, who will join us tomorrow. Al said the Patriots were 8-0, and they sat down with Brady and he said, I'm the most miserable or unhappy 8-0 quarterback. So people knew it. People felt it. I guess we just didn't want to believe it. Jim Nantz, lead play-by-play voice of the Masters, the NFL on CBS, NCAA Final Four. Man, he would have been busy this week. Instead, what's your schedule like?
every day you come up with creative ways to try to make it a little bit different than what it is. And by the way, hello, friends.
Hello, friends.
And all friends there, Dan Nantz and everyone. It's a constant living reminder of where I'm supposed to be. And it's a wonderful thing. People have good intentions about it, but it happens throughout the day. And I think once we get through Sunday and the final day of the scheduled Masters, I can go back to where every day I don't get flooded with things that make me live in the past. It's difficult to live in the present because I've went through the NCAA tournament virtually every day. Hey, you would have been going to the regionals this week. Hey, how are things down in Atlanta? Yuck, yuck, yuck for the Final Four. How's one shining moment shaping up? And now, of course, we've transitioned to already today. Were you out there for the honorary starters this morning? So, it's
where would you be right now at 11:08 East Coast time? Where would you be physically?
I would physically. I would have been on the ground since 7:15ish to make sure I was in place to watch Jack and Gary hit the ceremonial first shot. I've been going to Augusta since 1986, Dan, and I've never missed that moment, that ceremony, going back to the days of Sarahs and Nelson and Snead, and then, of course, Arnie with Jack and Gary, and now it's Jack and Gary, and I've never missed it. I just love that moment. It's so heavy with nostalgia and paying tribute to the heritage of the game, and it's one of my favorite things of the whole year. I get into things that people say, what are your favorite sporting events? Is it calling this? Is it calling that? I love things like the NFL schedule release. Those are my favorite kind of sports shows. The draft, the NCAA bracket release, the opening tee shots at Augusta. Those are my favorite things along the way. I'm not going to break out into Julie Andrews from Sound of Music and sing my favorite things, but they are my favorite things. And I would have missed that. Right now at 11:08, the round is well underway. And who knows? Depending on who had a hot hand early, I might have walked out and saw someone play late stages of their first nine, or even as maybe the first groups are approaching Amen Corner. We would have been going through some meetings. We wouldn't have been coming on the air with our partners from ESPN for another 3 to 4 hours. So lunch is on the near horizon, which is my one chance to sit down and really kind of catch up with Lance, our great producers through all these years, where we kind of start game planning what we're going to do the rest of the day. But by the way, while you have me in the moment, you have me on the grounds there, I've got the late night show tonight. So I will be here, so to speak, since 7:15, and we'll be leaving the property closer to 11:30ish after we finally feed the late night highlight show.
Oh, man.
And I love every minute of it. I do. I'm gonna have that sense every day of awareness, Dan, of where we were supposed to be. And by the way, maybe in here somewhere today, I would be on the phone with you anyway. We normally do something about this.
Well, we do the Jim Nantz Sound Alike contest, which you're going to win because you're unless we move it to November. And then I'm thinking,
you will.
Hello Friends, and then Dogwoods and Foliage, which we normally don't hear at Augusta. Can you drop Foliage for us in November?
I haven't worked mentally on how that's going to sound or thought about the optics of what that's going to look like. I'm just hopeful, like everyone else, that this sports part of our universe, which this country loves, and it's a rabid sports nation, just hope that by the time the new schedule for the Masters, November 12th through the 15th, we are well into the sports world being back and operational. Yeah, and how about the fact that there'll be a Masters in November, and, of course, you'll circle back around and 5 months later have a second one. So 2 and 5 months. You're going to be running a lot of sound-alike contests in the span of 5 months.
Which one? I know it's tough. It's like choosing which child you like best, but which do you miss the most, the Masters or the Final Four?
No, it really is. It's impossible to say which one you miss the most because it's basically a very clever way, Dan. I give you major props for that of asking me which one I love the most.
Thank you.
And we've been down this road a few times, but it really is difficult to not be at Augusta right now. Now, I lived through all of March, as I said, longing to be wherever the site might have been, starting with the Big Ten tournament. I got to do one game, a regular season game at my alma mater, which meant a lot to me down in Houston. It's an unbelievable chance to go back on campus. But sitting with Bill Raftery, Grant Hill, working with Tracy Wolfson and our crew, I love it. I love it. But Augusta runs so deep through my veins. It was the thing that most, I think, inspired me to want to one day be in this industry as a young kid. Just listening to the storytelling and seeing the visuals that came out of Augusta, I was just crazy in love with the event. And that's all I ever wanted to do since I was 11 years old. I wanted to work for CBS one day. And at that time, if I was really being right out in the open about it, I was really molded into a aspiring young broadcaster, pretending because of the way CBS presented golf and the NFL. I loved the NFL coverage back in those days, and those two sports really had me as a crazed, obsessed CBS fan. And I'm so thankful that I've had a chance for my life to somehow follow that path that I could only dream of as a young kid.
CBS Sports announced its updated programming for Saturday, April 11th, Sunday, April 12th. They will feature the final rounds of the 04 and the 2019 Masters tournaments. Two classic tournaments featured victories from Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods. I heard that you spoke to both Phil and Tiger recently. What'd you talk about?
We didn't speak. We spent hours, actually, taping each of their look-backs. Phil will be on Saturday, the 2004 rebroadcast of Phil's first green jacket, and it was an amazing day. I had never looked back at that day of golf, or that broadcast, I should say. And Phil is in maybe every third segment calling golf with me for, at times, stretches of 15 minutes, maybe longer. Very generous, both of them with their time, and just exceptional insight from them both. And we were with all yesterday morning with Tiger starting at 8 o'clock my time out here in California, and I'm on my computer at Pebble Beach, and Tiger was on his at his home in Florida, just like Phil had been from his home down south of me here in California. And we just did the whole Zoom treatment with the broadcast running in a center box on our screen, and we called golf. And same thing, Tiger, this was not an interview. This was several hours of poring over tiny little details about how it got done, key situational moments. What were you thinking? And we're just following along the broadcast feed, Dan. So there were no edits. There's no later post-edit. Mm-hmm. It's the broadcast feed with the broadcast audio as an undercurrent. And what I thought was pretty amazing is how both of them transitioned into like the analyst role so smoothly. So I could be, for example, Tiger standing on the tee at 12, which we all know last year's tournament, that was really the pivotal point in the entire and final round. 4 of the last 6 players hit it in the water, including the other 2 in his group, Molinari and Finau. So Tiger's pondering what to do. Francesco's already hit it in the water, playing with him and being up first. Then there's a cut to Xander Schauffele hitting his second shot. He's right in the mix. He's hitting his second shot at 13. So, I steer the commentary. Let's go to 13. Here's Schauffele now, going for the green in 2. And Tiger just went right into some commentary about Schauffele's skill and his ability and him being in the mix and hearing the roars from over at 13. Actually, it was KJ Choi and Ernie Els who were over at 13. And what was circling in his head, because he heard the reaction from over at 13 and heard the roars. Cut back to Tiger's shot at 12. Move ahead to Brooks Koepka over here at 14. Cantlay for birdie. And we did this through the course of the final round. It's not every segment.
You're amazing. You're a machine. No, you are. You are. That's great. So that'll be coming up this weekend on Saturday and Sunday. Are you in your office?
I am. It's
okay. Can you do?
It's in a bad state right now.
Can you do me a favor?
It's been turned upside down as I've been trying to turn into a studio doing these Zoom shows. So I need some serious. I'm going to have the time though to reorganize. What am I looking for?
Okay, could you do us a favor? You're going to do the nation a favor.
Uh-oh.
Okay, I need you to get up. I need you to go into the backyard and turn on the Augusta music. And
that's problematic.
Why?
You know why? I access it off my phone. Now, I'm not sure that I can.
Oh, no.
Let me see if I can. That's
okay.
Interesting. Can I do a phone call and go to my Sonos? I'm walking out of my office.
Okay.
Out my front door.
Okay. All right. Beautiful view, by the way.
Overcast. Well, thank you. Overcast day here at Pebble. It is so quiet here. It's I'm doing a scene. We call this a scene set.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
It's a gorgeous day. The skies are overcast as we welcome you to the opening round of the Masters. You want a tradition unlike any other in here?
Absolutely.
And this tradition unlike any other. Okay, I'm putting you on speaker.
Okay, here we go.
Let's go to this app. This is really exciting and a little nerve-wracking because I'm not sure I can pull it off. Okay. It's loading up.
Okay. Do you got a wedge there with you?
Memories. A lot of good. What's that?
You got a wedge with you?
I don't.
Get Jackson to go get you one. Or Jameson. Jameson, go get. Go. I'm thinking of my son. Go get Jameson. So you're. Are you?
My little Jameson is sleeping in this morning.
Okay. All right. So can we
Let me see. It says Wi-Fi isn't connected.
Oh.
Fix it. I think I might have been. What a shame. This could have been epic.
It could have.
Let's not give up on it yet.
If I had given you a heads up, that might have helped you.
Would have been all over it.
Yeah.
Would have been on already.
I blame Fritzy.
I miss you guys up here.
Yeah,
we didn't have our annual shootout, so Andrew, Andy is McLovin is still the champ.
I know. Oh.
Well, that's from you.
Oh. That's our backup. No, I want to hear it from your backyard. There's a difference in backup and backyard.
So do I.
Jim's got great sound system there.
Are you? I'm starting to see some promise here.
Okay.
Don't give up on me.
No, never.
Now, I want to give you a little jolt here.
Okay.
As you said, we're doing this as a favor to the nation.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to give you instead, if it comes out, we'll start with this and we'll end with the melody, okay?
Okay.
Let's see if this works.
Okay.
Come on now. It's hourglassing, Dan.
This is our one shining moment.
This will have to be a great substitute for it. I had it all the way to the music cut. Unable to play. Unable to play, it says. Never had that come up before. It has to be because I'm on the phone.
Okay, we're going to play the music, and I'm going to let you act as if the Masters is happening right now. So
I don't feel right about it.
Do your best.
Maybe we should just do a little bit. We'll just try to do a little bit. But
okay, here we go.
I'm going to do it under the heading of this, Dan. We're friends, welcome to Thursday at the Masters. Our hearts and thoughts go out to all of you, and I'm being very serious. This has been the most fascinating time for any of us in our lives, and we're going to get through this together, one step at a time. Stay safe, stay home, stay healthy. God bless you all on this Holy Week, and we'll look forward to seeing you in November.
That was golf applause.
You know what I've done? I've shut myself out. I've locked myself out of my home. I was trying to go back to my office. We had to deliver the message above all that's in the heart, because these are the wildest, craziest, and it's just, it's really sad times. But I do want to bring back some optimism and some hope. That's what spring is all about, right, Dan? I mean,
yep.
You look it up. Spring is a season of renewal. It's all about hope.
And you got Tony Romo back? Well, you never lost him, but you got him back?
Yeah, he never went anywhere. Where did he go?
He went to the bank.
There's news for me. Okay.
He's still at the bank. Hello, Cash. Hello, ATM.
We're having a lot of back and forth by text every day. I love the guy, and he's down sheltering with his home in Dallas, and I'm so happy that all worked out. We've got many things, and listen, there are so many people right now that are suffering, and it's why your show, and to be able to make people laugh a little bit and be able to still have a place in the sports universe, is why it's so important, because you need certain things to keep you uplifted. So that's where your role serves. You keep going on. I mean, I'm sitting here on the sidelines. I've got nowhere to go, and I'm making the most out of this situation. I've never in my life, never in my career, ever had this kind of time with my family, and we're aware of how horrific it is, particularly back in New York, but all over, the number and thousands of people that are affected by it. And we our family is we're a prayerful bunch, and we're really thinking of everybody at this time, and it's just nice to be able to get on the phone, talk a little bit, laugh a little bit. But I do want to say this. I spend a lot of time watching and listening, and more importantly, coming up with my own conclusions on these data spots, data places that are making projections, and where we're going to go. Where is the peak? When's the flattening of the curve? All these things we've really learned about as a nation. Mm. And this is the tough weekend, Dan, as you know. This is when it's supposed to be at its peak in the next few days. If you look at that data that Bill Gates funds at University of Washington study, and thankfully they've brought their numbers down, their projections significantly. They've adjusted twice in the last week. And again, I'm just an amateur at this, reading this stuff and printing it out. It's really easy to go online and find it. But you look at these curves and everything, and if we all keep doing what we're doing, it's really key. We don't let go of it now. You stay at home. Stay away from others. Keep the 6-foot distance when you have to go to the market. All these things that we're practicing. If we do this, I can't speak to what this means as far as rekindling the sports universe, but I can tell you this. As a society, the numbers are going to drop significantly and fast. And we'll have a summer where our hospitals are not going to be anywhere close to what they have right now as far as being populated. And we're at least going to have a stretch. I can't speak to the seasonality of it, but things are going to get better soon. That's my interpretation of what I look at the numbers. And I'm hearing a lot of these experts, and I'd love to meet these folks like Anthony Fauci and Deborah Birx, who never get a day off and are trying to lead us through science. These are the sites and the data that they look at, but it's a tough time right now, but it's trending because we're doing the right things in a very positive way, and I'm excited about that. I can't wait for all of us to be able to go to our next chapter in our lives. Dan, for you keep working.
Did you get back in the house?
I'm trying to find an opening. The house is still asleep. Yeah, I'm wandering around my driveway right now.
Are you in your robe, your pajamas? What are you doing?
I'm already actually dressed for the day, showered and dressed and ready to go. Hey, it's Thursday at the Masters. What do you think? But I want to say this because I think this is relatable for people. We've hit this pause button on life, all of us. Never saw it coming. And, we've now got a sense of things that we've kind of rushed through maybe more than we had in the past. I mean, through all the gloom, I feel so thankful to be able to have this time with my wife and kids. And I know a lot of people can relate to that. And maybe they're still crazy at this point, but you're going to have a time in your life when you're going to look back and say, I got to really play with my kids for a long stretch. And now as you, again, recalibrate and you go back and figure out what you want to do, when you get back on the treadmill of life, maybe we allocate our time in a little better fashion than we did before. And we don't rush through things. And, that's what I'm going to do out of all of this. It's going to try my best to figure out even more ways to cut corners, to stay at home a little longer, get back a little faster, do the things that are important to my children, because we're on the run all the time.
Yeah.
And, this has been such a reality check for us as a nation and all citizens of the world. And we're going to learn from this.
Well, thanks for being a good sport. Hopefully you get inside and call us if you get bored, Jim. We're always here for you. I'll leave the light on for you.
The biggest bummer of all is I couldn't play the speaker out of the back. I know we got to go, but I could have done it through my wife's computer in the kitchen. Yeah, that's what I could have done.
Next time we'll rehearse.
No, I like it better raw like this.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
Here's the thing. Hey, Courtney's up. I'm on with your great friend Dan Patrick right now. Could you? Because she says you're making it sound like I'm so lazy.
We'll do this again. All right, we'll tell Courtney I said hello, and thanks again, Jim.
Dan says hello, and I was going to play it through her computer, but I didn't know how to get in the house, and now I have. You've got to go. I've got to go practice some more music narration.
Put
the Augusta melody on. See you, Dan.
All right. It's Jim Nantz. Hello, friends. Goodbye, friends. It's 20.
Bye, friends.
Goodbye, friends. 28 after the hour. Back after this in the Dan Patrick Show. You check things all the time, like email, your Instagram, but what about checking something as important as your credit? Discover makes it quick, easy, and it's free. Discover's now offering FICO credit scores, and the scores used by 90% of top lenders, and they will do it for free. Even if you're not a customer, check your score. It won't hurt your credit, and you can check each month for changes. The Discover Credit Scorecard, it's free for everyone. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply.
We're back in Philly and back with our local bar tour guides, Dom and Kyle of the band Nothing. Next stop, a place where its name is just as hidden as its location.
Philly Draft Beer Draft. Another stop. What can you tell us about this place?
We're headed into the Pope, the pub on Passyunk East. More of a craft beer, good food, good music, good bartenders kind of place.
All right.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I just figured out why they call it the Pope. Not really the sharpest.
The acronym. I said it in the walk.
You did. So I'm like, why are they calling it? It says the pub. Like, it clearly says the pub, and then everyone calls it the Pope. It must be like a weird Philly thing.
The pub on Passyunk East.
It's really not that difficult to figure out. So the Pope, what's the story of this place?
You know, it's a draft beer kind of bar, and just like the borderline, like, always be like kind of a cool space, never really goes away. Like, we usually just go to home here when we would be like annihilated, and the last time I was here, someone at the table was just like swinging a fork or a knife around and clipped the porcelain thing, and the whole light fixture came down on the table. and we made a quick exit out. And now that's there.
So you just split, they didn't know it was you?
No.
Until right now?
Until right now.
So, if you're after some good draft beer and some quality food, come on down to The Pope, which apparently stands for the pub on Passyunk East. Come on, it's not that obvious.
Can we go back to that last picture? We got a problem here. Can we show the picture with me?
Including.
Oh my God. I've mentioned that Dylan is the guy who does graphics, and he picked up our breakfast like as late as, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. So he's been pretty good, but he had a typo on a video that went viral. Like millions and millions of people saw this.
Look, a lot of people can get breakfast and spell. We went with someone who could get breakfast and couldn't spell. I think that shows that we are open-minded here. We're not opposed to having spelling challenge people working here, as long as they can bring me some bacon and frickin' eggs.
It's the worst feeling in the world. I feel bad for Dylan. But I'm sure, the thing about Dan Patrick's show is when you make a mistake of any form, people forget about it instantly. They don't bring it back up for 7, 8, 9 years every day.
This is the equivalent of Mario missing a shot in the AUAA.
I'm happy to be let off the hook. I feel like people are going to remember that now more so than my mess up.
This show is essentially built on putting unqualified people in positions they're not qualified for. So Dylan fit right in when we made our breakfast guy, the graphics, I don't know, supervisor, coordinator. I don't even know what his actual title is.
Dylan originally wasn't part of the team, and as of 3 weeks ago, Dylan had never used Photoshop, so things are really looking up. Ready, 29. 3, 2, 1, 29, go.
That was fun. Always good to talk to Jim. Got a good sense of humor. A couple of things I wanted to bring to your attention. LeBron James was talking about the season now on hold and the fact that we might not have a championship decided here, and he talked about that lack of closure.
I will have some satisfaction, like I said, on just being with my brothers, being with my guys. Closure, no, but to be proud of what we've been able to accomplish to this point, I'll be able to look back and be like, okay, we did something special in that small period of time.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity, obviously, for LeBron, and they would be the co-favorites. I don't know what Vegas would have with the Bucks and then the Lakers and the Clippers, but a great opportunity, and that's why I was told the NBA trying their best to crown a champion this year. I don't know how that's possible, but that's what they're going to try to do, and I think that they'll limit the number of regular season games, and then they'll limit the number of postseason games as well. But they're bent on doing that. Shaq has a podcast, and Shaq had Joe Burrow on. And Joe Burrow, the LSU quarterback, had this to say to Shaquille O'Neal.
There is definitely some disappointment. I was really looking forward to, walking that stage, walking that red carpet and hearing my name called. But, I think having it at home with my family is going to be just as good. Getting drafted is getting drafted. I don't really have any plans yet, because I don't really know what it's going to look like right now I'm planning on just sitting on my couch with my parents and watching it on TV, I guess.
All right. That's Joe Burrow with Shaquille O'Neal on his podcast there. By the way, check out the DP Show store. We've got all kinds of new T-shirts. Quarantine This is one we have. Tampa Bay. The Beer Here T-shirt, we're proud of that. Help aid hourly and service industry workers who have been impacted by the pandemic. Go to danpatrick.com to check those out. Yes, Paulie?
I was looking at the NBA season. If the NBA season ended right now with the standings, they are what they are. If you were the NBA, would you play a few games if you could, or go with the standings now? Because right now, the New Orleans Pelicans are 3 games out of the 8th spot, and you'd love to have the Pelicans in there round 1. Right now, they're not.
Well, I don't think you could have that strategy if you're the NBA home office of how do we get the Pelicans in the playoffs.
I think you actually do, because the Pelicans are having a great second half of the season for them.
Yeah, but you can't go, you know what, we were going to have 5 games, but because the Pelicans are 3 back. Like, you could get to the last game and go, you know what, on second thought, we're going to add 5 more games because we want to get the Pelicans in here.
I think you could say it. You could think it.
Fritzy's scoreboard, the numbers are 25 and 18. 25 and 18. Yesterday was 25-19.
That's right.
Okay, we did have a winner. Brian Bridges, the big winner, and he gets some DP Show gear. So 25-18 today. 25.
Relating to today's guests.
Okay, so Jack Nicklaus.
Jack Nicklaus, 18 majors. That's the second half.
All right. 25. We had Ernie Johnson on. Was Myron Rolle's number 25?
There you go. With
All
the
right.
Titans, number
ding,
25.
ding, 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 ding.
Rolle and Nicklaus.
Yesterday was 25-19.
Which was all-star appearances for Hank Aaron.
Do you realize he was an all-star 25 times?
And some of that was interesting, that number, because a couple of years they had 2 all-star games.
25 times. Yeah. And what was the other 19?
19 was Cal Ripken, 19 all-star appearances.
Okay, that's good.
From last year.
All right. That's good. Let me get to Dave in Indianapolis, who's been on hold for a little while. Hi, Dave. What do you have for me today? And Dave is gone. I think I kept him on hold a little too long there. So or do we have him now? Dave in Indianapolis? He's gone, so. All right, Dave dropped. He's probably locked out of his house like Jim Nantz is. I think that's so funny. I got a stat of the day here. On this day, 1965, the debut of the Astrodome. Did you have that in this day in sports history, Paulie?
Not anymore, I don't.
Oh. Okay, the reason why I bring it up, the New York Times called it the world's largest air-conditioned room. 1965, Houston Astrodome. The opponent, the first exhibition game, was played with the Yankees and the Astros. There were 47,000, almost 48,000 fans, including the president, Lyndon Johnson. Mickey Mantle was put in the leadoff spot so he could have the honor of being the first player to bat in the Astrodome. So he gets a base hit, and then he became the first player to homer in the stadium. That was the only run the Yankees had. They lost to the Astros 2-1. Also, I think that they used orange baseballs because there's a glare in there. Players always talked about it was hard to catch a fly ball in the Astrodome, but there was a glare in the dome, and they experimented with orange baseballs in that game. But that was 1965. The Houston Astrodome. Oh, Dave is back. Thank God Dave is back from Indianapolis. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Dan.
What's on your mind?
190, or I'm sorry, 5'9", 205.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm not as technological savvy as my kids, just like Jack Nicklaus. So,
all right.
No, I was at the 83 and 84 drafts for the Colts.
Oh, you worked for the Colts?
Yeah, I worked for the Colts from summer of 82 to 2009.
All right.
And it was interesting, and because of the recession, Jim Irsay let 25 of us go in 2009. We didn't even have a chance to work from home. So it's interesting the way things are playing out now.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Dave. Well, it's going to be a virtual draft. All right, we'll come back. Interesting this day in sports history that has to, touches my heart because it has to do with guys who love to shoot and not pass the ball. I have that for you coming up. Also, we'll explore the new game with the NBA horse rules. Like, what are the rules? We'll figure that out as well. Since they borrowed the idea from us, we might as well help them come up with the rules as well. We're back after this, what we learned, what's in store tomorrow. This is the Dan Patrick Show.
So, hey, you're in Philly for the NFL Draft, and you're probably going to want to get a cheesesteak from Geno's, right? But do you know the best place to eat that cheesesteak? It's right here, Ray's Happy Birthday Bar.
I'm Anthony Capizzoli from Ray's Happy Birthday Bar.
Anthony, first of all, the name, Ray's Happy Birthday Bar. It immediately makes you smile. What's the story behind the name?
Because what happened was my grandfather's name was Anthony, who I was named after. So as a kid, Anthony would get in trouble. He would say his name was Ray as his fake name whenever he got in trouble, and it stuck so much that everyone the rest of his life called him Ray. My father changed the name of the bar to Ray's Happy Birthday Bar because my grandfather never said hello when you walked in the bar. When you walked in, happy birthday. So everyone walked in the door.
Oh, that's tremendous.
Yeah, it was even more funny that it was actually your birthday. Everyone was like, how did he know?
These guys are talented, brother. This guy, Sally's an actor, a screenwriter. Luna Shu, he's an amazing singer. We've got an amazing guy here who's a comedian, singer, does the best Rodney Dangerfield.
On the way here, I got hit by a car. Well, I told the guy, I said, are you blind? He said, I hit you, didn't I?
You got a cast of characters here.
Yeah, really.
A lot of history here with the trough because it still works today, even though it started in 1938. The rumors, unfortunately, are that people say that the guys in the old days used to use the trough as a urinal. But my dad can swear if anybody tried to use the trough as a urinal, my grandfather would kick them out right away. Put them out on their ass. But that's my grandfather there in the corner. As a sports fan, a lot of times people come in and we're like, why is Joe Paterno on your wall? Everybody comes here for their birthday and we play it up. So we have a bell we ring and we actually have a shot that has a candle next to it. So you come in, you get your shot, your free shot for your birthday. It's actually birthday cake flavored vodka. So you do the shot and the whole place wishes happy birthday. And then it's a big part of the history.
Did I mention today was my birthday?
Hey! To Junior Perillo, there's all kinds of history here of South Philly musicians. My dad's been a big part of it. He's played with Charlie Gracie. If you love music and you love the old school sounds, it started out with South Philly, and my dad was a big part of that.
You know what? This is an institution in Philadelphia. You can't ask for a better.
As a kid, I would walk in the door because my grandparents lived on the second floor, and I'd walk in, and there'd be South Philly Italian guys playing poker, smoking cigars, shooting darts. It was such an old school, and to see some of those guys still around and still have that vibe is great.
Good friend of the family here at Ray's Happy Birthday Bar.
You're right in the heart of South Philly.
This is where it's at. Thank you. Because even though the young guys came in, the hipsters come into town, and they love the bar and they love the vibe, they all get along. It's a place where you can go and anyone can feel welcome.
It's the perfect blend of old school and new school. So whether you're looking for a Rodney Dangerfield impersonator or even a birthday shot, Ray's Happy Birthday Bar is the place.
You want a cookie? Oh, let's go see if we can get a cookie. Who wants a cookie? Who wants a cookie? Yes, Yes! Who wants a cookie? I'm not opposed to bribing you. Yes! Oh, yes! Oh, well, come over here. Oh, yes. Yes. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. Okay. Sit. Here you go. Here's your cookie. There you go. What a good girl. It's not the first girl that I bribed to love me. And it won't be the last. And I use dog treats too. Yes, indeed. Good girl. Yeah. Good girl. We'll talk to Al Michaels tomorrow. Great Al Michaels. And the Oregon quarterback Justin Herbert will join us on the program as well. What we learned, final results of the poll question, this day in sports history, all of that coming up. Do we have the rules for horse? Because I wondered, when we had Damian Lillard on, I said, can you dunk here? Are you allowed to dunk? And I'm going to guess when you play horse, nobody dunks. Because if that's the case, Zach LaVine, I might put my money on him if he just runs and leaves from the foul line. I don't know who else can run and leave from the foul line and dunk. Yeah, Paulie.
I did. They don't have any rules from the NBA yet, but there are some general horse rules. There's some horse competitions out there around the country, and shots can be attempted from anywhere on the court. No dunking is very common with horse rules. If you're left-handed, that player, you make a shot left-handed, that other player can do it with his dominant hand. There's certain universal horse rules.
Okay. That should be about it. Have we, Trae Young's involved in this? Have we seen a final roster, and is there any time frame for when they're going to do this? Because I haven't seen that. I just saw that there are a couple of guys who signed up, Zach LaVine and Trae Young. It would be fun. If you do it real time when you're going against each other, you can see what that person did with their shot. Yeah, Paulie.
Chris Paul's involved, Trae Young, Zach LaVine, and WNBA players, and recent NBA alums are involved.
Okay.
Could that be?
So a recent, like Dwayne Wade? Would he do it to help out Chris Paul?
Ray Allen?
Ray?
I just saw Ray on TV this morning. He might be dusting it off.
I think Ray will always be ready to shoot. And he looks like he's in great shape. All right, this day in sports history, what do you have for me? Since I took the big one, the Astrodome opened up and played its first game, the Yankees and the Astros.
Saku Koivu had 3 goals. No. 1912, the first exhibition baseball game was held at Fenway Park in Boston. Red Sox versus Harvard in some type of exhibition game. 1913, Brooklyn Dodgers Ebbets Field open. Here's a weird one. 1945, the NFL officials decreed that it was mandatory for football players to wear socks in all league games. I didn't know in the early 40s players were going al fresco with their feet, but I guess that was the new rule.
That you had to wear socks.
Must wear socks, 1945.
Okay.
That's it.
On this day, 1978, final day of the NBA regular season, David Thompson scored 32 points in the first quarter en route to 73 points in a 2-point loss to Detroit. At the time, only Wilt Chamberlain had ever scored more in an NBA game. Now, he's doing that because he's trying to win the scoring title. Later that night, George Gervin plays a game where he knows he needs 58 points to win the scoring title. He goes out and almost gets that in the first half. Ice went for 20 in the first quarter, and then he went for 33 in the second quarter. He's got 53 at halftime. Then he won the scoring title. He finished with 63, and he won it barely over David Thompson. The closest scoring race in NBA history, 27.2 to 27.1. But didn't David Robinson do this on the final day of a regular season to beat Shaq in the scoring title or something? Does that sound right? Feels like David put up like 61. Yeah, Paulie.
David Robinson scored 71 points.
71.
April 24th, 1994, to win the scoring title. He trailed Shaquille O'Neal by 33 points. He only needed 33 in that game.
Oh.
But he hit the gas.
Oh, my God.
71.
All right. That was this day in sports history. McLovin, final results of the hard-hitting poll question.
Okay, would you rather your kid be a doctor or a pro athlete? 53% said doctor.
Yeah. Now, did we ever kind of zero in on your son is going to be the second base? How about the second baseman for the Minnesota Twins? We said the Detroit Tigers, and they won, 47 games last year. And then,
by the way, I had our backroom guys pulled 11 different players played left field for the Mariners last year, and none of us have heard of any of them.
How about the second baseman? Brian Dozier's not there anymore. Who's the second baseman for the Twins?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I don't know either.
Oh, actually, yeah, I do. It's Jonathan Shoop.
Oh, yeah, Shoop. There it is.
He used to be for the Tigers. That's why I just looked him up. I never heard of him until today.
It's spelled like scoop, isn't it?
Could be. I don't have that information right handed.
Isn't it SCHOOP?
Yeah, exactly.
Shoop. There it is. All right, let's go around the room what we learned on the program. Todd, what'd you learn today?
Jack Nicklaus has been busy at home watching Caddyshack, Stripes, and other movies during this quarantine period.
And he's got all of his golf clubs except for the most famous golf club he ever used, and that was the putter in the 86 Masters. But he knows where it is. The tennis players at Bill Scanlon, I think he said. McLovin, what did you learn today?
Jim Nantz got locked out of his own house.
I know. We should have workshopped that a little bit there. Seton O'Connor, what'd you learn today?
I learned. I got the impression Jim Nantz might be a little bored while in quarantine.
It feels like he would be doing play-by-play for his kids. He's probably still outside trying to get in. Oh, no, his wife woke up. Paulie, what did you learn?
I just learned the former NBA players that are going to be in the NBA Horse Challenge. Chauncey Billups.
Okay.
Mike Conley Jr., current, former?
No, he's with the Jazz.
Kind of.
No, he's with the Jazz.
He's still a Grizz to me. Paul Pierce is in.
Yeah. All right. What we learned brought to you by LegalZoom. No matter what happens, you want to make sure you take care of your loved ones. That's why LegalZoom has made it easy to set up the right estate plan without leaving your home. Take care of your family today with the right estate plan at LegalZoom.com. Once again, the Oregon quarterback Justin Herbert will be on the program tomorrow, and we'll talk to the voice of Sunday Night Football on NBC, Al Michaels. Be safe, be smart. Talk to you tomorrow.